It's an absolutely frigid, rainy evening in North Metro Atlanta. This is the NFHS Network Road to State on Facebook Watch. Buford and Bainbridge, an historic matchup, is underway in the state of Georgia's 5A classification. Hello again, everybody, and thanks for joining us. No matter where you may be joining us this evening, from across the Empire State of the South, from across the country, or perhaps across the world, welcome to our continuing coverage of the state of Georgia's high school football playoffs on the NFHS Network and Facebook Watch. Back alongside my broadcast partner, Brandon Joseph, I'm Chris Mooneyham. There you see the Buford Wolves in their Kelly green and gold, the green bottoms. The gold bottoms, I beg your pardon, the green tops and the gold helmets. Taking on another team in gold, the gold, silver, and purple of Bainbridge. And we are right into the action here in Metro Atlanta. This is Aaron McLaughlin at quarterback. He'll hand the ball off to Darian Brown, and the future University of Texas commit is wrapped up right at the line of scrimmage. Brandon Joseph, so much to go through when it comes to these two teams. Buford out on offense first, an offense that has been absolutely dominant so far this year. Buford, the number 2 team in the state in the 680 The Fan Friday Night Football rankings, at 10-2 overall, a club that has won 7 consecutive ball games. They were the champions of Region 8 in the 5A classification. Staring down the barrel of a 2nd and 9, a bad snap that hops over the head of everyone and is recovered by Brown south of the 10-yard line. Buford again at number 2, 10-2 overall, 7 wins in a row, 5-0. They finished inside of their region. That's Region 8 in the 5A classification, where they were the champions, led by second-year head coach John Ford, who's 21 and 4 at the helm of the program. And for Buford, well, Buford, 40-plus points scored in 9 of their 12 ball games this year. They're averaging 44 points per ball game offensively. But, Brandon, what do you got in the playbook for 3rd and 42, or 32, as it were?
Try to get out of the shadows of your end zone here if you're Buford. And
wow. What a start for the Bainbridge defense, with the help of a miscue by Buford as well. Bainbridge has played perhaps the toughest schedule in the 5A classification this year. They've won 4 consecutive ball games, has Bainbridge. There you see the Bearcats. 7-5 overall. They finished at 3-1 inside of Region 1 in the 5A classification, so they were the number 2 seed out of that region, led by 7-year head coach Jeff Littleton. 7 years at Bainbridge, 7 years in the state, 44-27 record. So there are some of the particulars for each club as we make our way into the ball game. Got off to a little bit of an early start here, and the Bainbridge defense has come up big to start things. We're at Tom Ryden Stadium.
blocked.
And Buford, Georgia's blocked. It goes out of the back of the end zone. And Bainbridge with first blood in the state quarterfinals.
Just an overload and overpowering. And it is a little misty and rainy here. And a couple of weeks ago, we were here for the Buford game, and they had all kinds of trouble with snaps and up front on the line. And with the misty conditions tonight, they're getting a little bit out of sorts early, and Bainbridge takes the early 2-0 advantage.
Believe that was Bryce Worthy on the block, number 22, a defensive specialist, a senior. Bryce Worthy, who has had himself quite the season playing the jack position for his team defensively. Kid who leads the club in forced fumbles with 4. Got 4.5 sacks, 73 tackles this year. And he's come up with the biggest play for his team in the state quarterfinals here early. 2-0 Bainbridge, and they're about to get the football for their first possession of the ball game offensively. Let me make sure I reset things here, or set up things properly as we get ready to really dive into this ball game. For those of you watching outside of the Empire State of the South, maybe taking in some high school football here in the state of Georgia for the first time, we're in the 5A classification out of 7 classifications in the state of Georgia. So this is the second highest or third highest classification if you prefer. This is big boy football in the state of Georgia. Buford, one of the great programs in national high school football. Bainbridge, who you see there on your screen, again in the purple bottoms, well, they're a legend in and of themselves as well, one of the older programs in the state of Georgia, a 500-game winner. We'll talk a little bit about the history for each of these clubs as we make our way through the broadcast this evening. So 2 behemoths in Georgia high school football meeting here tonight in the Elite 8 of the 5A GHSA state playoffs. The Road to State, brought to you by the NFHS Network and Facebook. 9:33 mark first quarter, just underway here in North Metro Atlanta. We're in the northeast portion of the Metro Atlanta area. Buford had the opening possession. They stumbled mightily. 2 runs. Stopped right at the line of scrimmage, a bad snap, a major loss on the play, had to punt from their own end zone. Bainbridge came up with the block, got the 2 points out of it, and now they're getting the football for the first time offensively starting at the Buford 43-yard line. That'll give us our first look at Quade Hawkins, the sophomore quarterback, and his dual-headed rushing attack. Man goes in motion. Quade going to take the snap and drop back. They're throwing first play. He'll fire down here to the bottom side, has his man at the 30-yard line, get down to the 25, take on 2 defenders, and get into the red zone. Nice little pitch and catch there for Quade Hawkins, the sophomore, to the senior, Aaron Spivey. For Spivey, he leads the club in receptions at 36. That'll push him up over 400 yards for the season, a kid who has 2 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, and we take a look at this, just an easy drop back. Everybody expects the book on Bainbridge to be run the ball first out. Buford drops back into a very deep zone coverage. Looks like somebody missed an assignment on playing that little hook zone area, and they were just able to dump it off to Spivey, and Aaron Spivey did a great job of maximizing yards, then going down.
Hawkins standing on the hash, going to flip it out to his running back, who tries to make a move back into the interior. He's got the 10. It's a race to the end zone and a touchdown for Bainbridge. The Bearcats have scored. It's Caleb McDowell, the dynamic sophomore running back, with his 133rd carry of the year. He's up over 785 for the season, and now his 10th touchdown of 2018.
Buford did a great job up front of stringing out that little toss play, but a great job by Caleb McDowell of cutting it back inside, and the sophomore running back, great vision to find the cutback lane, which is always there. When you draw up runs, you draw up that cutback lane. Caleb McDowell found that cutback lane and found it to the house.
Extra point. Caleb Harris knocks it through and makes it 9-0. 28 of 34 is Caleb Harris, now the senior kicker on the year. Extra points.
Yeah, Buford stringing out second-level support from the linebackers, but that cutback lane came open. That's a product of the guys up front. Vic Wimberly, Jacob McLaughlin, Ben Mitchell, Brad Mitchell, and Damian Scott winning their battles up front. And that second level came in support, which you want them to do, but it left that cutback lane. There was nobody deep in that third level of support from the secondary of Buford. Now it's an early 9-0 advantage for the Bearcats.
Well, how about this start? If you're going to pull off the upset, and let's face it, Buford the favorite in this ball game, one of the favorites to win the state championship here in the 5A classification. Bainbridge is a team on a major roll as of late, a team that took their lumps early in the season. They were rotating 3 quarterbacks in and out of the lineup as deep as the midway point of this 2018 season. And at one point, they sat at 2-5 on the year. They sat at 2-5. Now, they played a very, very tough schedule, and they're pretty young, so they were trying to figure themselves out. Well, they put it together, and they're kind of the Cinderella of the 5A playoffs. This is Darian Brown, and Darian is dropped shy of the 20-yard line. All right, so let's dive into Buford. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for the Buford Wolves offensively. And there you see Darian Brown. We'll talk more about Brown here in just a moment. He's one of our key players in the ball game.
They're anchored in that offensive line. Seth McLaughlin, who is the center, is going to have to be better than he was in the first series and 2 weeks ago when they had trouble with the snaps constantly against Miller Grove, but a bunch of skill players over there for the Buford Wolves.
Now, this is a score that will send shockwaves throughout the state of Georgia. Brown going to get the carry. This is third of the ball game already. He goes twisting and turning into the interior line and is finally spotted down at, let's call it the 22, maybe the 23-yard line. Darian Brown, let's take a look at his numbers for the year. He's our key player. Actually, let's take a look at the Bearcats' defense first. A little bit better way of doing it. Roman Harrison we'll talk about in greater depth here in just a few moments.
Yeah, and that's a man up front. And this is a very confusing look. It may look like on paper it's a 3-3-5, but they can give you many different looks up front. So if you're an offensive lineman, you have to communicate because guys drop in, they bail out. It is very confusing if you're an offensive lineman. 2nd and 7. McLaughlin to throw, and it's incomplete. Good job by the defender to come flying in, knock that away at the last moment. Pass was intended for Austin Turner, Buford's offense. Per ball game averaging 228 yards
on the ground. 228 on the ground per ball game, 137 through the air. One of the best offensive lines in the state of Georgia, regardless of classification. And there's the numbers on Darian Brown, the future University of Texas Longhorn.
Yeah, he's just an amazing runner, and we saw this last week if you were with us. Darian Brown can do it in the kick game and also in the backfield. What a skilled running back that Tom Herman going to get at Texas next year.
3rd and 7. Man in motion. High snap. Buford's had trouble with this in the playoffs. The ball is still loose. If Bainbridge recovers this football, it'll be Katie bar the door.
And they've
got it.
That is insane. 2 horrible snaps on consecutive series, and that one was just up and away of the quarterback, Aaron McLaughlin, who is pretty tall himself. So for him that to be over his head and off his shoulder, that had to be a really bad snap. And if you're Buford, you have just dug yourself a hole, kind of like what happened last week with Kel. Kel dug themselves a hole they were unable to get out of. So Buford, you have to be able to get a stop. And you take a look at McLaughlin. Slaps, again, just came out a heater. Just came out a little bit off the shoulder and high for the shotgun snap. And maybe it's a product of the wet turf. Against that Miller Grove team, it was a wet track here, so maybe they just have to figure that one out.
Absolutely incredible development here at Tom Ryden Stadium in Buford. Handoff, running back. Hit just past the line of scrimmage. A great collision there between running back and linebacker. And Rashad Broadnax gets his first carry of the ball game. A modest gain at best. We'll wait for the official spot. Looks like they're going to give him 2. Call it 2nd and 8. Rashad Broadnax, another sophomore in the backfield. Boy, oh boy, they've got 2 dynamic sophomore running backs in McDowell, who we saw score the touchdown a little bit earlier, and now Broadnax, again, also a sophomore, 151 carries on the year, 624 yards. That's 4.1 yards per carry, and he scored 4 times. They've got 4 sophomores in the backfield with a quarterback and the 2 great running backs. Snap. Quaid has to hold up as the play is blown dead.
And I don't see a marker on the field, so we'll wait for the official call
from Tom Skinner, our man in the white hat, who calls offsides on Buford. Bainbridge offense now.
And you mentioned those running backs, Rashad Broadnax, Caleb McDowell already has a touchdown on the day, but Quade Hawkins, he's the leader of this team, and only a sophomore, really has shown that he can lead this offense. And we saw it in the first play. He can sling the rock a little bit also, coming in, completing 48% of his passes with 11 touchdowns.
2nd and goal, 3-yard line now. Hawkins going to go under center. Send a man in motion. Take the snap and toss it back. This is Broadnax once again, off to the left side, trying to follow his tackle out to the left side. He's right on the hash mark. Looked like he's got a gain. We'll wait for the official spot. Broadnax, his 2nd carry. Bainbridge offensively averaging 135 on the ground per ball game, 113 through the air, and here's the defense they'll face.
And this is a very athletic front. Jalar Holly, Quentin Skinner, Ahmad Cred, and Jackson Powell are 4 guys who can play at the next level, and they will end up playing at the next level. They're so skilled up there, and then that support from the linebackers. This Buford defense is loaded. They just need more space. They can't take the field inside their own 25.
3rd and goal, 2-yard line. Handoff. Back, powers up the middle and into the end zone for the Bainbridge touchdown. Can you believe this? 6:27 mark, first quarter. McDowell gets into the end zone. Incredibly, unbelievably, incomprehensible for the Buford faithful. It is 15-0.
And they're running off of that left side. Jacob McLaughlin and Vic Wimberly, those 2 guys on that offensive line, winning their blocks. There was a flag that they picked up on the play. And if you're Bainbridge, you knew you have to come in and give them their best shot early. And they've just hit Buford in the mouth in the first 6 minutes of this contest.
Well, because of the quick pace and how we've gotten off to this fiery start to the ball game, Brennan, you and I, we didn't even have the opportunity to dive into the storyline that is maybe not a miracle run by this Bainbridge team, but not too far from it. With what they've put together, a whistle going to blow this extra point dead, and I believe we're going to do it again.
Offsides. They'll decline the offsides.
This is absolutely unbelievable. The Cinderella, as they've come to be known in the 5A classification. unranked at 5-5, headed into the state tournament. As a number 2 seed in a region that wasn't very deep, they won a key ball game late in the season, extra point on the way and good to make it 16-0. They played in a good region. They played a very tough schedule, and that's part of the reason that Bainbridge started their season at 2-0. Then they lost 4 out of 5. Lost 4 out of 5 in the middle part of the season and then into the back half of the season. So they sat at 2-5 on the year, then won their last 2 ball games of the regular season, and now 2 here in the postseason.
Yeah, just
mercy.
Right off tackle, up the gut for a TD. And when you win your battles up front and the left side of that offensive line has won, you can trust it. You can just trust their run up the gut for a touchdown. And we saw a Buford defender diving down, and we're starting to see them start to sell out early. That was T. Lee over there playing that secondary role, blitzing off the edge, and that's something. And if you're Bainbridge and you see that, you use that to your advantage. You wait until the next time T. Lee lines up in that show blitz, and you just throw it right in the spot that he will vacate, and you'll have a huge gainer there. So Bainbridge has been very successful in offense, but they haven't had to show a lot. So they still have tricks up their sleeves. They still have plays in their back pocket. This is a very rudimentary offense so far. Let me line it up and run it.
That's it. For all of our neutral fans out there, I'm scrambling here off mic, off camera to try to find new ways to articulate to you. Those of you that didn't follow either one of these teams during the regular season, just what a massive, major, incredible development it is that Bainbridge leads this ball game 16-0 as the ensuing kickoff, by the way, goes out of bounds. So, of course, the flag is thrown out on the field, and Buford going to get great field position to start this next possession. I mean, this is – help me out, Brandon. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. We all knew that Bainbridge could win the football game. I mean, this is a young team that's peaking at the right time to be up, but to be up 16-0 at 6:27 first quarter is an incredible development.
Yeah, 5.5 minutes into the game, and one team's up 16-0. It's been an onslaught early, and they wasted no time when they had Buford pinned back to try to block the punt. Yep. That just shows the level that they came out and they wanted to execute, and they wanted to try to jump on Buford early because they saw the last 2 games. Buford got out to early leads and just held.
The Bainbridge, a team that only averages 22 points per ball game this year. They only outscored their –
well, they're almost there.
They only outscored their opponents 22-17 per ball game. Of course, having said that, and you may have already guessed this because I've articulated the point a couple of times, their overall seasonal numbers are skewed because of their struggles early in the year. Over the last 4 ball games of the year, their points allowed defensively down. Their points scored offensively up. Look at another unbelievable, tremendous defensive play by Bainbridge, and the tackle made on the play by number 26, Anthony Brooks. Brooks, a man who leads his team in tackles for loss. Now he has 25 tackles for loss in the season to go along with 7.5 sacks.
And this is just lends itself to the type of offense the co-defensive coordinators Brian Hill and Joe Dollar has dialed up for Bainbridge. It's a very confusing front. You see guys running in, bailing out, pre-snap. So it's very confusing if you're an offensive lineman. It really falls on the quarterback to identify where the pressure is coming from, who's bringing it, so the lineman can block accordingly.
McLaughlin to throw this time. He looks to Turner. He'll fire down here to the bottom side, and it goes right through the hands of Austin Turner, the usually reliable, sure-handed wide receiver. Absolutely, that's the best way to put it. Turner with 18 receptions on the year and 16.5 yards per catch. Lets one squirt through the wickets, and it's now 3rd and long, 3rd and 16. Buford good on 3rd down so far in 2018, 46%, although many of those 3rd down opportunities on 3rd and short, as this offense is so very good, averaging 7.3 yards per play on 1st down. I say 7.3 yards per play on 1st down, Brandon.
That instantly puts you in 2nd and short.
Right.
And what we saw last snap, we're going to see a lot more of if they can't contain this pressure. Roll McLaughlin out, let him throw on the run.
McLaughlin brought down at the 10-yard line inside of it. My goodness, what a start for Bainbridge on both sides of the football. It's Bryce Worthy, the senior linebacker, who comes away with the play, comes away with the tackle, I'll beg your pardon. 75 tackles on the year, 14 tackles for a loss, 5.5 sacks.
And this was Bryce Worley, who showed pre-snap bringing pressure, bailed out in the coverage, and just closed up the space on McLaughlin, the sophomore quarterback from Buford. And that's the confusing part of this defense. You don't know who's coming, who's staying, who's dropping out.
They barely get this punt away after the first punt of the ball game was blocked. For those of you maybe tuning in late, it'll go resting down at the 40-yard line. And so Bainbridge is about to get it back offensively. What an electrifying start for the Bainbridge Bearcats. The boys in gold and purple have come up to Metro Atlanta after pulling off two of the biggest upsets in the playoffs in the state of Georgia. As in round one, they took down Jones County, a team that has been so very good in the state of Georgia over the last 5 years, beat them in a 2-3 matchup and really handled them. And then last week, they defeated Wayne County, a well-known, highly decorated program here in the state of Georgia, a region champion. Wayne County was undefeated at 11-0, and they beat them as well at Wayne County. Now they're trying to win their 5th in a row and pull off the biggest upset of the playoffs so far. Running back hit in the backfield and dropped immediately. A host of Buford defenders in on that tackle, including number 76, Harry Miller.
Yeah, Miller just blew up the center, Ben Mitchell, and snuffed that play out in the backfield. Let's take a look at this again. Right off snap, just wins, sheds, and hits the backfield. You got to love that if you're a nose tackle, to be able just to throw the center off the ball and to blow up the play in the backfield.
Quade Hawkins in the shotgun, got a 4 wide receiver set and sends his back in motion to dump him out. That's Broadnex who dumps out. Fire had his man and went right through his hands, but a very good job defensively of coming in and putting a hit on the wide receiver right at the perfect timing. A great play by number 37, Calvin Blow. Calvin Blow, the senior defensive back.
Yeah, Blow timed that perfectly and separated receiver from ball. Take a look at this real quick. Blow closeout speed, and the outstretched receiver of Aaron Spivey. Blow went right to the body. Clean hit to separate receiver from ball. It's like the old boxing adage. Beat the body, the head will fall. Always go after the body. So many kids try to jump routes and try to smack the ball out, try to take the pick. Just hit the body and separate receiver from ball.
False start. Bainbridge turns 3rd and 11 into 3rd and 16.
And this is what you needed if you're Buford. The noise to come alive in the stadium and to actually have Bainbridge in a 3rd and long. Now, what you also need to do here is get off the field, most importantly, but you're setting yourself up in an environment where you can. And I hate to say this so early in the game, but this is crucial for Buford because we know what Bainbridge can do if they just get settled in to running the football.
31% on the year, Bainbridge on 3rd downs. Hand it off to the back, just try for a little bit better field position, get inside the 40-yard line, ended up with a pretty good gainer off of the play. They turn 3rd and 16 into a 4th down and long, but not ultra long. Looks like they're going to call it, about an 8-yard gain, so 4th down coming up.
And that was the thing. If they could have got 3 or 4 more yards, they go for it there. You could consider go for it here, knowing that Buford didn't move the ball, but momentum is such a crucial thing that if you don't get the 1st down if you're Bainbridge and give the ball back to Buford in their best starting position, it could swing that momentum. But that was a run play designed. If you were 4th and 4, you're going for it.
Don't give the sophomore quarterback an opportunity to make a mistake either on a potential interception. Quade Hawkins still trying to find himself as a passer. Not a bad punt there by Caleb Harris, who averages 28 yards per punt. And so Buford about to get it back offensively. Well, we showed you Darian Brown a few moments ago. At some point during this next defensive stand here for Bainbridge, we got to give you a look at their top defensive player, Roman Harrison, who plays the strike position in this Bainbridge defense. University of Tennessee commit, number 30 in white. We'll get to him in just a moment. We got 2 studs on both sides of the football when Buford has the football and Bainbridge is on defense. Aaron McLaughlin takes a snap, handed off to Darian Brown. Brown hit right back at the line of scrimmage. May have been dropped for a loss on the play. This is going to be very close as to whether or not he got back to the line of scrimmage, and Bainbridge is tremendously good right now defensively at the line of scrimmage.
They're going to call it no gain, and what they're doing is 4 guys lined up in three-point stance. 3 more guys came over the A-gaps and then around the edge. They're bringing 7 guys at times, and then some of those guys, they'll show and then they'll drop out. So you don't know if you're a lineman, if you're blocking as many as you can, or if there's only going to be 3.
2nd and 10. Incomplete. And a flag comes flying in. Pass interference is almost certainly this call. Zyree Wilson, the senior wide receiver, was the intended man, who is without question their top big play wide receiver, leads the team in receptions, yards per catch, and touchdown receptions.
And Jaheim Jenkins gets the nod for the PI call, and he was just draped all over the receiver. And anytime you have that trailing arm wrapped around the receiver, they don't care if you make contact with the ball. That is pass interference every time. He was draped all over the back of Zyree Wilson.
So instead of 3rd and long, it's a fresh set of downs all the way up to the 31-yard line. Darian Brown checking out of the ball game a moment ago. Got a member of the medical staff, the training staff, checking him out on his right hip. We'll check it out. Keep you updated. Deep ball. Got a man down there. Austin Turner, the speedster. Incomplete. A lot of hand fighting going on there between Turner and the defensive back, Dion Bowie. Bowie, a freshman who's had an amazing season. Without question, one of the top young cornerbacks, top young defensive backs in the state of Georgia. Again, just a freshman. A kid they call Smoke has 5 interceptions this year. He's trying to live up to the billing of that senior, Roman Harrison. Without question, the physical, star, statistical, and emotional leader of his defense.
And he can play in, he can play out, he can really play anywhere on this field.
Blitzing linebacker. And Brown is met. The running back is met in the backfield. That was not Brown, but the blitzing linebacker who came around the edge did meet the running back in the backfield, and I believe that was Elijah Turner who's checked in the ball game. Indeed it is. Number 20, there's Elijah Turner. Elijah, the junior running back. 60 carries this year, prior to that carry, that is. 7.3 yards per carry and 7 scores. Elijah Turner, without question, one of the best junior running backs in the state of Georgia. 3rd and 7 coming up.
Showing that blitz again over both edge.
McLaughlin. I'm sorry, Brandon, didn't mean to step on you there. McLaughlin looking over to his coordinator, wanting to wave off that play. And a flag blows it dead, or a whistle, I beg your pardon, will blow it dead.
False start. And that's just a product of knowing that they're coming and you're trying to get out of that stance. If you're a lineman or if you're a receiver trying to get off that line as quickly as possible, you know you don't have enough time. You know you don't have a lot of time if you're a lineman. You have to try to win off of snap just to try, because you're going to have to pick up 2 guys. Harry Miller and Reese McIntyre on the edge. A lot of times they're going to have to pick up 2 guys. So they're trying to go right on snap anticipation to get there.
Yeah, plus it's a big play in the ball game on 3rd and 7. Already down 16-0. You don't want to give the football back to Bainbridge. And I believe they changed that call play at the line of scrimmage. This seems like a great opportunity. We'll see if the keys to the ball game still stand as to what we thought would be the keys as we've zoomed through this first quarter. What do you think? Should we take a look at the keys to the ball game? How confident do you feel about your keys to the ball game with the way this thing's laid out?
Well, let's see. For Bainbridge, not so much air it out, which they did on the first drive, but take the air out also. Yeah. They're going to have to keep the ball out of the air, and they can do that very well. They just haven't had the need to. They're up big now, but if that lead stays, they're going to do that.
You get a check mark on that one.
Right place, right time. Defensively, guys have to be gap aware, gap sound. So they're going to have to play great gap play.
Big check mark.
Because Buford likes to run in between the tackles and the linebackers. For Buford, ground control, over 100 yards on the ground, easy last week versus Kell. But that's going to be the key today. They have to get the run game going. They haven't been able to, and that's why 3rd and long on 3 drives already. And they're going to have to win the trenches versus the Bearcats defensively, and they have not done that to this point. I think I'm 4
You
for
proud
4.
of yourself?
I think I'm 4 for 4.
My friend Brendan Joseph, you absolutely nailed it. Eyebrows raised all across the Empire State of the South as people will check their scoring apps, tune into our ball game, and see that Bainbridge leads 16-0 as we close in on the end of first quarter play. Are you kidding me with this score? A 5-man front for Bainbridge. They'll send a blitzing linebacker. McLaughlin drops back in a 3-step drop to throw. He's got a man down there. Zyree Wilson had to go through his hands as he's hit by a defensive back. I believe that ball really should have been caught, however, Brandon. But a good play by the defensive back to come flying in and at least disrupt the play. On that play was number 7, Aaron Spivey.
Yeah, great read by Aaron McLaughlin. And what he's having to do at the line is try to identify who's coming. And you hear a lot of times in these pro games, the guy who identifies Mike linebacker, that's for the blocking assignment of the offensive line. You identify Mike, and everything is played off of there. Gap A, B, and C from the Mike linebacker going both ways. So McLaughlin's doing a good job at the timeout of identifying the Mike and who's coming.
Caleb McDowell back deep to receive. He'll call kill, 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 and have everybody get away from it. It's touchdown by Buford at the 33-yard line. So Buford will send their defense back out. Bainbridge will send their offense back out.
Worst starting field position for the Bearcats in this contest. Their 36-yard line.
Yep.
34, sorry.
Bainbridge with 7 different guys who have a touchdown reception this year. But as you may remember in this pro-style multiple set offense, as we mentioned earlier in the ball game, it's a team that wants to run it a little bit more than they throw it. Not an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination, only averaging 248 yards offensively per ball game. Only 248. They average 34 rush attempts per ball game and just 10 completions. This is Broadnax. And Rashad stopped just past the line of scrimmage. And here comes the rain. I mentioned it in the opener. Winter is not coming. Winter is here in Metro Atlanta. It is a frigid evening. It has been a misty evening. And now, as we expected, the rain is really starting to fall here in Metro Atlanta. That's going to be the storyline tonight. As each half hour passes, every hour passes, we're going to see a little more rain falling throughout the night. Oh, whistle going to blow this play dead.
And more rain, which makes it tougher to throw. So if you're Buford, that's why it's so critical to try to stay in this game because, as you mentioned, the later this game goes, the rain's supposed to pick up right about the fourth quarter of this game.
Yeah.
If you're down 2 scores, you don't want to be in a position where you're going to have to try to throw the ball if you're Buford. You want to be at a place where you can run the ball and still try to fight back that way. But anything more than 2 scores down late, you're going to have to start throwing the ball.
Feels like, you feel free to disagree with me, Brandon, but the momentum, even if ever so slightly, is starting to lean towards Buford just a tad bit. Certainly the field position battle is. Quaid. Hawkins going to go deep. He's got a man down there, one-on-one coverage, and he overshoots him. Just put a little too much on it for his intended man.
Well, it's really a situation here. You got to stop here. Odds are, if you're Buford, you win the aggregate. From where you had the ball originally, your punt, to when you get the ball back, you gain plus yardage. That's a huge win for Buford. I don't know. They haven't been able to find the run game. I don't know what they do offensively to try to alleviate some of the pressure that Bainbridge is bringing. They had to drop in an extra running back to try to help stop the pressure, but you need to get quick routes, and guys are going to have to win their battles off the line of scrimmage, both on the line and receivers.
4 wide receivers set, 2 to each side. It's a jailbreak. And it's incomplete. That ball was nearly intercepted as Hawkins and his team was trying to set up a screen to the wide receiver who stayed in. That was A.J. Cooper, who dropped out of his far wide receiver position, swung around in an effort to set up a wide receiver screen behind his lineman. But Buford did a great job with their length of getting on top of Hawkins, causing a misdirected pass, and it was nearly intercepted.
It was a tunnel screen block like a halfback screen from Bainbridge. What you want to see there is there's no reason on a tunnel screen like that for the lineman just to let rush men through. You don't need to do that on a tunnel screen. What you want to do is have receivers out there on the island, have the tunnel receiver come through and run the daylight. That's the whole premise behind a tunnel screen. Out of the dark, run the daylight. But the lineman blocked as if it was a halfback screen, and that really applied the pressure to Quaid Hawkins.
This punt by Caleb Harris going to go resting down north of the 40-yard line, and so Buford going to have really good field position to start the second quarter. Bainbridge, the Cinderellas of the 5A classification, looking for an historic upset. Through 1 in Buford, it's Bearcats 16, Wolves nothing. This is the NFHS Network's Road to State on Facebook Watch.
The NFHS Learning Center is the leader in online education for the interscholastic community. At nfhslearn.com, you can find over 60 courses for coaches, administrators, officials, parents, students, and performing arts programs, including over 25 free courses such as concussion in sports, heat illness prevention, sudden cardiac arrest, and protecting students from abuse.
Second quarter action. Darian Brown over the 50-yard line, nearly broke it free. And you see the quick strike, explosive athleticism of Darian Brown, the senior running back who entered the contest just shy of 1,700 yards on the ground, 215 carries, 7.8 yards per carry. There he is, 3 in the middle of your screen. 26 touchdowns he has on the season, and that's just rushing the football. Last week he put together one of the greatest punt returns you'll ever see.
Brown just went right up the gut.
30 seconds into this third quarter, Brown is tripped up in the backfield and down just past the line of scrimmage. For those of you just tuning in, thanks for joining us for NFHS Network Road to State on Facebook Watch. Alongside Brandon Joseph, I'm Chris Mooneyham here with a play-by-play story. We're in the 5A classification here in the state of Georgia. The 5A classification, the third highest in the state of Georgia. 7 classifications, 7A, 6A, now 5A. And we're in the Elite 8, just 8 teams still with a dream of being crowned state champions in this classification. Brown, 45. Brown to the 40. Darian going to bring his team to a 3rd and 2 coming up.
Great block by Dane Rotundo out there, getting out on that island one-on-one, really springing that run play for Darian Brown. He engaged, didn't hold, and we'll see it here on this replay. Look at Rotundo at the bottom, winning that block down low on number 9, Corin Burns, and that was really what allowed the play.
Fumble the football. Holy smokes, it's still rolling around down there, and it bounced right into the arms of Aaron McLaughlin. You have got to be absolutely kidding me. This is unbelievable. Buford, throughout 2 playoff games plus 1 quarter and now 2 minutes, have just fumbled the football around as if they don't know how to handle it. This is the darndest thing.
Darian Brown, that's helmet on football from number 45, Tahari Tate. That's how you teach it. Put your hat on the ball, knock it free. And that ball just came out. And, yeah, you're right. Just
this is wild.
Uncharacteristically for Buford, putting the rock on the ground tonight.
Tahari Tate, by the way, another incredible sophomore player. 18 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss. Got a sack and 2 forced fumbles, make it 3 forced fumbles now. They have got some incredible young talent on this Bainbridge team. Boy, oh boy, are they going to be world beaters in a couple of years. Flip the possession. Bainbridge about to get it back. Bainbridge, a program all-time with 500 wins, 503 to be precise, in the state of Georgia. Only 39 teams in the long, illustrious history of Georgia high school football have won more football games. They've been playing organized football in the state of Georgia since the teens, the 19-teens. GHSA football since the 1940s. 503 wins all-time for those Bainbridge Bearcats. They've won 51% of those games. They've sent 4 of their all-time players to active NFL rosters, a host of other guys that have been, practice squad guys, so on and so forth. And they won the 1982 AAA state championship, beat Gainesville that year. Bainbridge also with 2 semifinal appearances and 3 quarterfinals. Quade Hawkins, roll out to his right, going to fire. Little short pass, squirts out of the hands of his intended man and goes flying out of bounds for an incomplete pass. And a 2nd and 10 is coming up.
I like the idea from Quade Hawkins and this Bainbridge offense led by OC and QB coach Mike Harville. Just a rollout pass. Buford is trying to been selling out on the run the last few possessions. So you just throw it. Just throw it to the flat. Let Buford's aggression come against them.
I've got an incredible number coming up for you here, Brandon. On this play, one you may not believe when you first hear it, ladies and gentlemen. Hawkins takes a snap, little 3-step drop, going to fire across the middle, had his man, and it went through his hands. Now, there is no question that the rain and the slick football is absolutely playing a role in this ball game this evening. I'll give you that incredible statistic in just a minute, Brandon, but I got to get your thoughts on this. We've already seen 5 drop passes right in the breadbaskets of very good receivers.
Dry ball, A.J. Cooper is able to pin that to his shoulder pad, but Quade Hawkins looking off everybody. That's a big-time throw from Quade Hawkins. Looking off the linebackers, that was a pure read to hold the linebacker of Buford, Dana Rotundo, in place as the receiver cross. Cooper, great job by Quade Hawkins, unable to connect on the play, but big-time read from the sophomore.
3rd and 10. The Buford crowd comes to life with the cowbells and the shakers and standing and hooping and hollering. Handoff to the running back. Coming down here, bottom side, can't turn the corner. Slips and heads to the turf, and brother, you almost had yourself a collision coming up between Rashad Broadnax and the lineman, or the linebacker on that play. And so Bainbridge is held offensively, and we'll take another look at it.
And you'll see Caleb McDonald, the other sophomore running back, actually winning this block on the edge down here at the bottom, sealing it off. And you're right, if that turf monster didn't reach out and grab Rashad Broadnax, he could have been working out on the island to try to make one man miss for the first down.
Bainbridge scored 16 points in the first quarter. Here's that number I had for you. Bainbridge put 16 points on the board first quarter. This punt going out of bounds, not a great kick. Even by Caleb Harris's standards, his 28 yards per punt average will drop a little bit. Buford, all season long, ladies and gentlemen, allowed only 14 points in the first quarter. Now, you heard that right. I don't mean in one ball game. Buford allowed, coming into this ball game all season long, just 14 points in the first quarter. Only 29 points in the second quarter all season long. So just 43 points first half allowed all season by Buford. Unbelievable. They gave up 16 in the first quarter. Of course, 14 offensively with the block punt. Darian Brown down here, the fake to him on the bottom side. McLaughlin will keep it on the top side and be wrapped up right back at the line of scrimmage. Caleb McDowell in on the tackle. Very good job by Bainbridge to not bite on the fake to Brown.
Yeah, good read by Tahari Tate. He fought his way inside and then realized that quarterback kept the ball, rolled back out, and really influenced that play. Sometimes it's not the tackles you make, but how you influence the play. And he really strung it out and prevented McLaughlin from cutting it upfield and forced him wide until Help was able to keep contained.
3 wide receivers set. Send the tight end in motion. Coming down here to the bottom side, that's Dom Maggio. Darian Brown tries to go right up the gut and has very little success. Might be a 2.5, potentially a 3-yard gain, and Bainbridge doing such a great job of doing just what you talked about in your keys to the ball game and when we got the ball game started. They're plugging the middle.
Yeah, and that's how you win the game against Buford. Last week versus Kell, a lot of Darian Brown's run have come into the line of scrimmage and then bouncing out. They didn't necessarily run him off tackle or around the edge. He runs into the gut, and if it's not there, he's so strong and so smart. He's able to cut back out and fight off arm tackles. So you have to win that battle up front and push that line back in the face.
3rd and 8. Look and fire. Oh, and a great job of coming back to the football. The wide receiver makes the catch at the 15-yard line. I'm searching for a flag. They don't pay me to officiate the ball game, Brandon, but there was an absolute positive stone-cold hold on the top that the officials missed. Doesn't matter to me either way. Buford, the beneficiary of a missed call, and they'll have a first down all the way down to the 16-yard line.
Yeah, a couple of...
You'll see the hold on the top right there.
Yeah, that's a hold inside the jersey, but McLaughlin steps up and was able to get to Zaire Wilson.
Darian Brown once again in the middle. No, I'm sorry. That's Elijah Turner on the carry.
And I'll tell you why the referee didn't call that hold. Sometimes when you get beat so bad, it doesn't look like a hold, and that's what it was. Anthony Brooks had beaten Harry Miller so bad that it just looked like Harry Miller was just trying to reach out and he wasn't making contact because Brooks came wide side around. He was inside the jersey of Anthony Brooks, but it didn't impede Anthony Brooks' speed at all because he beat Harry Miller so bad on that play.
Miller, who is playing both sides of the line of scrimmage tonight because of a little bit of attrition on the defensive line right now. Of course, they've had a little bit of issues on the offensive line. Also, even though it's still one of the best offensive lines in the state of Georgia, they lost Carter Colquitt, a 4-star offensive lineman, presumably for the season, the Ole Miss commit.
3rd and 2. You're in 2-down territory here. I don't think they're in the business of trying to kick a field goal here to still be down 2 scores.
46% on the year is Buford on third down. McLaughlin. It's Brown, of course. He'll hop over a defender and an offensive lineman and get into the end zone for the Buford touchdown. The Wolves with their first tally of the ball game. It comes at 5:32 second quarter, and Buford is back in the ball game.
And they had to go big with Dom Maggio, number 91, the senior reserve tight end, has basically been forced into action to try to add some extra girth on the offensive line. And Dom Maggio, great job of springing running back Darian Brown to the end zone for another touchdown for this young man.
It's Hayden Olson for the extra point. This kid about as automatic as it gets on PATs in National High School football. And he may have to kick one from about 5 yards deeper than he just did. No, he'll gain some yardage.
This is the most offsides I've seen on extra point attempts in a high school game in a long time.
Hayden Olson, 60 of 63 on the year.
Any thought of taking the half the distance to the goal and then trying to run it in with Darian Brown?
You know, if it was 16-6 in the third quarter at 5:32, I might be with you. I think Buford, and it's blocked! I was just about to say I think Buford has momentum squarely in their favor, and then Bainbridge comes up with another tremendous momentum-shifting play.
Here's the thing, though, and this was my thinking of, if you kick the extra point, you're still down 2 scores. It doesn't change the equation of how many scores you need to take the game. You go for it and you don't convert, you're still down 2 scores. You make it, you're down 1 score and another 2-point conversion. As we take a look at this touchdown by Buford, Darian Brown, and we'll see number 90 come into the picture, and that's Dom Maggio, Pancake City, young man. Tackled the blitzing edge, which I believe was Bryce Worthy, the strong side linebacker on that play. The extra pressure they have been bringing, they've had to keep Dom Maggio in. He's bigger than Seth Auer, who is more of a receiving tight end, and Maggio, that's why he's in the game. He can win those blocks, and when Worthy came off that edge, Maggio just kind of falsely engaged, so Worthy took one more step, and Maggio just fell on top of him.
Oh, this is turning into some kind of a memorable night. Into the end zone, touchback. It's incredibly cold here in Metro Atlanta this evening. It's either raining or heavily misting, depending on what time you bring it up. Buford entering the ball game as one of the great programs in National High School football history, and quite frankly, the favorite to get through this side of the bracket and get down to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the state championship game. Maybe the second leading favorite in this classification to win the state title, probably next to Rome, who's won 40 games in a row, the 2-time defending champions. Buford's probably number 2 on that list. But Bainbridge comes out, blocks a punt, gets in the end zone quick, takes a 9-0 lead, then a 16-0 lead, and now, after giving up their first score of the ball game, comes up with a block on the PAT. Could we be watching history tonight? Fire to the back, out of the backfield. This is McDowell. Makes a move around one defender and a second defender. Gets up over the 40-yard line where he's pushed out of bounds and gets his team some offensive space. A big gainer, a 20-yard gainer on first down.
That's the most offensive production we've seen in the last 3 drives from Buford. And now they're starting to use Buford's anxiousness to get after the quarterback against them. Bring an extra guy. That leaves a space. That's a misread in zone by Zane Harkness. He was supposed to play that flat. He got caught and did communicate with the defender behind him on who was supposed to pick up that guy running the seam. When Harkness hands him off, then he returns back to the flat. Harkness was too worried about the seam. He did not know somebody was there in the flat, and that's why zone is communication key.
Quade Hawkins, Julian Hawkins, goes by Quade. Handoff. McDowell needs a big block. Couldn't quite get to the edge. There's the flag on the play. We'll wait and see what this call is. A lot of the people here in the press box think this is going against Buford. You say it's against Bainbridge.
A.J. Cooper blocking the back.
Indeed. Good call, my friend. That's why you got some of the best color analysis eyes in the business. You saw that one quickly.
And what it was T. Lee had beaten A.J. Cooper around the corner, and Cooper in a last-ditch effort. And we'll see it here on this replay. You'll see there he is with the block, hand in the back, arm extended. It doesn't matter if it influenced the play or not. When that arm gets fully extended and there was contact on the back, that's a block in the back every time from the official.
You'll see T. Lee, the junior cornerback, around the play extensively throughout this ball game defensively. He's not always in on a tackle or in on a deflected pass, but, man, is he active. And oftentimes you'll see 13. Matter of fact, he's down at the bottom of your screen right now. You'll see 13 around the action a great deal this evening. 1st and 18, we call it now. 32-yard line. 4:50 mark coming up during this play. Hawkins going to look and fire. Overshot his man, nearly intercepted. And if Jamal Singleton, number 1, comes up with that one, he's taking it back for 6.
And Quade Hawkins took a shot from Davin Bryant. Clean shot to the quarterback, and it was T. Lee and Davin Bryant kind of feigning that they were doubling on the receiver, A.J. Cooper. Davin Bryant, as soon as ball snapped, went from the corner blitz, kind of dropped off more into the outside edge blitz. And you'll see just right to the shot at the bottom of your screen really kind of influenced the throw just a little bit. He made contact right as ball was coming out and caused him to float a little bit.
Jamal Singleton, number 1, and Kelly Green almost had his second interception return for a touchdown. Deep ball, and he overshot his man, incomplete. That's the throw of a sophomore quarterback. Quade Hawkins has had himself a good year, 49% entering the season, just shy of 1,300 yards for the year, but 11 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He's a growing quarterback. They don't want him to throw the football too much, though. That's just the thing. He's only attempted, well, he has attempted 222 passes this year, but they still don't want him to win the ball game for them. They want him to manage the ball game.
And that's what that pass was. It's a theory of execution. And I know it sounds like a 90s pop punk band, theory of execution.
I had both of their albums before they broke up.
But what you don't want him to do is to put that ball in the field of play. You want to put it in one spot where only his teammate can get it, and that's close to out of bounds. And if he throws it out of bounds, so be it.
Flag blows this play dead before it gets rolling, and it's a false start on Bainbridge. 3rd and 23 coming up from the 27-yard line. And again, it just feels like Buford is slowly but surely trying to take that momentum back away from the Bearcats.
It's like a boxing match when the underdog boxer comes out in the first 2 or 3 rounds. He's just throwing everything that he has. If you're Buford, have you weathered the best shot from Bainbridge early in this first half?
Four and a half minute mark during this play, and another whistle blows the play dead. Fans, want to remind you to stay tuned at the half. We'll have a special halftime show brought to you by Max Preps. We'd love for you to stay with us. Whether you're joining us on the NFHS network or on the Facebook Watch tab, or both, perhaps. You never know. On your tablet, your laptop, your smartphone, or your personal computer. Thanks for joining us, no matter how or where you may be doing just that. It's the NFHS Network Road to State on Facebook Watch. We'll be right back with you next week as well. Hawkins going to fire to the top side, slips through his hands. That ball slipped out of his hand there as he released it, Brandon. You could see it kind of take off on him, and he overshot his running back out of the backfield in what is a quite easy pass for Hawkins.
And that's a tough pass from a quarterback.
Was that
all the way across the field and try to hit a receiver in the flat? And it did look like from where they're marking it, it was a backwards lateral.
Indeed. You read my mind. I was just about to say the very same thing. Great call, and we'll get another look at it.
So if the ball from any point from his release hands, and it does go backwards, it's equal as backwards in the rule book also. So even if that was online, it does count as a backward pass. So it looked like it was a little online or off.
Once again, Caleb Harris. Gets it off, but just barely. Kick at the 50, take a Buford roll, and mark it just past the 49-yard line. So, a monumental possession in this ball game coming up, Brandon Joseph.
Yeah, if you're Buford, again, another plus field starting position which means you start on the Bainbridge side of the field. You have to capitalize here because, Bainbridge will get the ball to start the second half. So depending on how long it takes you to score, Bainbridge could have the ball to drive to end the half, which is that Bill Belichick aggregate. I want to try to win the half and then get the ball back. So for Buford, this is crucial to try to cut it down to one score.
They'll start the drive with Darian Brown, and the future Longhorn man hit right at the line of scrimmage. Darian, who will also catch a ball every now and then out of the backfield, 10 receptions, 162 and a score, but again, carrying the football is where he butters his bread. Barring a incredible defensive performance in the second half of this ball game, Brown will eclipse the 1,700-yard mark in this game. He's getting close to it now, up around 1,790. Clock rolling down to 3:40 left in the first half. McLaughlin will take the snap, give it to Darian. Once again, Darian Brown. This could be it. It's 1,700 for sure. Darian 10, 5, and down inside the 5-yard line, Darian Brown. Great players are not always great, Brendan Joseph. They're just great when they have to be.
And Darian Brown, explosive is not even the word. He is the flash when it comes through that hole. Seth McLaughlin, Malone Van Gorder win the block up front, and whoop, he gone right through that A-gap off of the hip of the center. And Darian Brown with another big gainer. That's why it's key to win these battles up front if you're Buford. That's where Darian Brown breads his butter, through the A-gaps off of the center's hip to the left or right side. He does have bounce-back ability, but you have to get that push up front to give him that chance.
Get it again. Try to pay off the drive. Look at the shifty movement right at the line of scrimmage, staying patient, and falling forward for a modest gain at best. Maybe he'll get a yard on the play. Clock continues to wind down to 2:50. If you're Buford, you got 2 timeouts remaining. You wouldn't think about if you score quickly here of trying to get the football back, would you? Well, of course they would. See if you can get it in quickly. Bainbridge would love a stop in the worst way. McLaughlin keeps it. Aaron McLaughlin, touchdown. McLaughlin gets in on the ground for the 3rd time this year, and it's 16-12.
Great read and great pull by the sophomore quarterback. Aaron McLaughlin saw that edge, and that's the main thing that you're reading when you are running these option-type plays. Read the edge man, the man who's supposed to play containment, and if he dives down, as he did on Darian Brown, you pull it and you keep it, because just like we saw, all kinds of space when there is no help side on those contained plays. They all sold out on Darian Brown in that run up the middle. McLaughlin pulled it and went around the edge.
Hayden Olson on the way and good. Brand new ball game now. A brand new ball game now.
And he's just reading 37 on the edge. 37 pinches. McLaughlin pulls, and he gets the pay dirt. Pinch, pull, pay dirt for the Buford Wolves.
2:33 remaining. And again, by my count, although not on the big scoreboard, I believe I said 16-14 a moment ago. Of course, it's 16-13. I'll beg your pardon.
Now, how big is that missed extra point for Buford?
Yeah.
That could come into play later to where a field goal gives you the lead as opposed to tying it.
Again, Buford, I believe with 2 timeouts remaining in this first half. Yes, 2 timeouts remaining. I may have had the score wrong a second ago because I don't know how to write on my scorecard. But I do know they have 2 timeouts remaining. So they may have a shot of getting it back in this first half. Holson to drill it, and he does almost always with a touchback.
It's interesting here because Bainbridge has 3, so it's going to be who blinks first. You could end up taking a timeout that benefits the other team here. If you're Bainbridge, you start running the ball here on first down. You haven't been able to do much the last 2 or 3 series offensively, but if you run that ball on first down and let's say it's a little to no gain, Buford's going to call their timeout there. But if you're Bainbridge, that also gives you a chance if you pick up a first down to really keep playing that small type ball, to pick up in increments. This first timeout is huge on who takes it.
McDowell, the back, beside Hawkins, and he'll get it. To the top side, tries to turn the corner and does. Got a positive gain, looks like about 3 yards, but, well, actually, they'll spot him shy of the previous spot. They'll say he gets about 1.5 yards, maybe 2 yards, but just as importantly, Brandon, he goes out of bounds at 2:27.
And if you're the defensive coordinators for Buford, now you know Bainbridge is playing to score. The fact that he ran out of bounds, they're playing to try to get 7 here.
Or was it a mental mistake?
It looked like the way he was running out of bounds, he got all he could, then stepped out.
All right.
And I think those are the little tells that they're going to pick up on, that Bainbridge is going to try to score here. So you need to watch also to pick up a chunk yard.
Broadnax checks in. McDowell stays in, and McDowell gets the football on the pass. And he is met intently by the free safety, Daniel Benitez, the junior, with 34, make it 35 tackles
and we were
in
here,
2018.
We were here last week when Daniel Benitez had a couple of shots that he was laying some kids out against Kell. And another one here. Similar play than last week, too. Just reads the play in the flat, heads back, arms wraps up, makes body contact first, and then puts the face mask in there. That's a clean, big play hit from the junior safety.
Yeah, Benitez can play. He is a pretty good-looking player.
And if you're
just
Coach
a junior,
John Ford, you have to love having a safety that can tackle in space one-on-one and has that read and recognition of closeout. There's a lot of players who can read that play but don't have the speed to get there. And there's a lot of players who have the speed to get there, but they don't have the instinct to read the route as it develops in front of them. Daniel Benitez is showing that he has those two skills, which makes him a critical safety for John Ford, because you can anchor around that in the defense.
Well, as good as this Buford defense is, and they're very, very good this year with 3 shutouts, 6 times they've held opponents to single digits. They've only given up 149 points all season long. That's 12 per ball game. But that number is a little skewed. They gave up 75 points to 2 of their opponents, so they've allowed 74 points to their other 10 opponents. As good as their defense is, they got a lot of youth in the secondary, Brandon.
Yeah.
Jalen Huff is a junior. Daniel Benitez is a junior. Amari Wansley plays a lot. He's a sophomore. KJ Johnson's a junior. And T. Lee is a junior. Almost their entire secondary, their 5-6-man rotation in the secondary, almost everybody will be back next year.
And you have to replace a lot of senior leadership in the front 4 and the linebacking core, so that's key. You just shift where the leadership comes from.
Buford did use a timeout a moment ago. McDowell off to the right side, still on his feet. McDowell looks for the first down mark, and he's got it. Pushed out of bounds north of the 40-yard line. What a big gainer for Bainbridge to save a timeout, or to really take advantage of Buford's timeout, get a first down, and now they've got a chance to add points to their 3-point lead here with still 2:02 remaining first half. And remember, they've got a slew of timeouts as well.
And that's the key. That's what we talked about earlier with the timeouts. As we take a look at McDowell, 4 tackles broken for McDowell as he just gets to the edge, lowers his shoulder, and fights through to get the first down. And that's big. That timeout's big because it just effectively gave Bainbridge 4 timeouts on this drive.
2-back set. Hawkins will take the snap. Believe this is Broadnax with the carry this time. Broadnax leads the team in rushing attempts at 151. McDowell leads the teams in yards a carry this time. Broadnax leads the team in rushing attempts at 150.
With possession. If a pass here falls incomplete, or if there's a run here and you get a good stop, call timeout if you're Buford.
I'll be absolutely shocked if we see a pass. And a flag blows the play dead. This looks like, here in the press box, are calling offsides on Buford, and I'll tell you what, I think they might be right. Indeed it is. Holy smokes. So a free 5 yards for Bainbridge via the Buford defense. Here's another thing to keep in mind, Brandon. Field goal kicking. for Bainbridge. Keeping this possession, your point is so well thought out and correct on so many levels. It's just as important for Bainbridge to keep the football out of Buford's hands as it is to get points. Bainbridge may not even be thinking about points here. Caleb Harris, a season long in field goal kicking of 34 yards, so they still got a long way to go before they can get Harris within field goal range.
You're a yard short. I'm interested that nobody's taking the timeout here. If you're Buford, call a timeout and kind of force their hand.
Well, you can bet that if Buford comes up with a stop here, holding Bainbridge from the first down, then we'll see a timeout, at least you'd imagine. Well, big play here on 3rd and 1. They need the 48-yard line for the first down. Hawkins gives off to McDowell. McDowell's got it and a whole lot more over the 40-yard line. Now will Bainbridge use one of their 3 timeouts?
Calvin Blow with a touchdown-saving tackle there, shoestring tackle for the senior cornerback.
Well, I'll tell you, Brandon, I don't know that they're going to use it. They need 20 yards to get into field goal range.
And we'll see McDowell come right through. And Calvin Blow saved a big play.
Oh, gosh. A little bit of indecision over on the far sideline. Bainbridge is finally going to use one of their 3 timeouts. But they lost a good 6 or 7 seconds in their bit of indecision. Ball at the 41-yard line. Bainbridge with possession. Again, their field goal kicker, Caleb Harris, has not attempted a field goal past 37 yards this year. So that would tell you they need at least the 20-yard line, so about 21 more yards to get Harris within field goal range.
So I can understand why it took so long for Jeff Littleton to take the timeout. You're in the awkward island here if you're Bainbridge. Are you trying to go for the 20 to kick a field goal? Are you trying to get 7? Or are you just going to take it to half here? I think this play here will determine what they do. They're going to try to throw it or push the ball downfield some way, shape, or form. I don't expect to see a run here because that's basically just conceding the half to Buford, and that's a net win if you're Buford, considering that you were a stop away from forcing a big 3rd down, and they pick up a first down and use your own timeout against you. So you have to try to pick up something to get close. If they get down to the 25, then you take their last timeout there, and you try to figure out if we can get 5 to kick the field goal, or we can go towards the end zone. But the big chunk of it has to come here on first down with 31 seconds left.
Keep in mind, Bainbridge with 2 timeouts remaining. Would not be surprised to see some really safe pass out here in the flat or some string them out run. Hawkins will send a man in motion. That's McDowell coming down here to the bottom side. He is going to throw the football. And he had his man open, but he overshot him and pushed it off to the left, where at least for the moment he had Aaron Spivey. And that's exactly the play they wanted, Brandon. If they hit Spivey there, he was all the way down to the 30-yard line. Catch it, drop, call a timeout. You still got 1 left, and you're 10 from field goal range.
The good part about that play developed pretty quickly if you're Bainbridge, so you can have another seemingly tight play there, too. I expect them to keep it now in the middle of the field, the crossing route. Buford's going to try to guard against boundaries here to prevent them from saving a timeout.
If you're Bainbridge, you just cannot be too conservative here if you're going to pull off this monumental upset. And they are going to throw it again. He'll go deep across the middle, and it's incomplete. 21 seconds remaining. I'll tell you what, I bet, and I would never think about speaking for Jeff Littleton or his offensive staff, but I'm going to bet you they decided the same thing I just said a moment ago. Let's go for it. Let's not be too conservative. Now, that was a dangerous pass across the middle, having said that, but they went for it.
It was a dangerous pass, but what you also took out is Buford with 1 timeout left. You can't run it here. Buford's going to call that last timeout here. So now you're almost forced to try to do something, and you're running the same play. You had 1 across the middle, 1 out. So maybe you just try a deep seam and just see if you can get a big chunk towards the end zone.
As you say that, they decide to run it right up the middle. And it looks like McDowell, yes, indeed. Caleb McDowell is wrestled down, the sophomore, at the 30. They're going to call it the 36 or 37-yard line. There's a timeout on – well, no, wait a minute. Did the officials call the timeout? A penalty. And it's a face mask on Buford. Holy smokes, I didn't see it. I did not see the flag as well. I'll beg your pardon for missing it. It must be over on the far side beyond the scrum. But look at them mark off the chunks of yardage. Brandon all the way down to the 21-yard line. Bainbridge still with a timeout remaining, 14 seconds remaining, and you're one solid gain from field goal range.
Yeah, you can run the ball now and kind of set it up where you want. So they'll take 1 to 2 right here.
Yep.
See, if you don't take the timeout here, you could take a shot at the end zone. And we'll take a look at the replay, see if we can pick up on the face mask. And it's just a straight run play up the gut with McDowell. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
That is a
my goodness
face mask, and he knew it as soon as he pulled it. Number 9, Davin Bryant for Buford. As soon as he brought him down, he knew that he had the face mask. By taking that timeout here for your Bainbridge, what you effectively do is this play, you can try to throw it to the end zone, or you need to set it up for the field goal with 14 seconds left.
And with 14, you just got to set up the field goal, don't you? Now Bainbridge down to the one timeout.
The last couple of throws from Quade Hawkins has really, I think if you're Jeff Littleton, really disinterested you from throwing, because he had one across the middle that was high, and high across the middle is an interception 9 times out of 10. The out route was sailed, didn't give his receiver a shot, so I'm picking up yards running. I'm asking the kicker, where do you want it? Probably on the left hash. If you're a right-footed kicker, it's that natural push. So I'm going to run kind of like a toss play, or maybe just a draw play, and tell my running back, kick it out, bounce it out. Try to get as close to that far hash as you can.
Well, having said that, you need as much yardage as you can get because the wind is really picking up. The rain and wind howling here in Buford. They're setting up a screen, and it's incomplete. A great job by Davin Bryant to come in and make up for the play a few moments ago. Davin Bryant, the senior linebacker, a terribly underrated kid. This kid should be getting looks from at least some mid-major colleges. A senior linebacker, 51 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, 5.5 sacks. He's recovered a fumble for a touchdown. Now with 10 seconds remaining, you still got the timeout, 2nd and 10.
Now you're setting the ball up for a field goal because Davin Bryant could have intercepted that pass too. And what it was in a screen pass behind the line of scrimmage, you could hit the running back catching the screen, and Davin Bryant did just that and separated any chance the running back had from catching the ball.
Hawkins, fade, corner, and incomplete.
Great coverage. Stayed on his hip. Jalen Huff, and he's a very skilled cornerback. We've seen it over the last couple of weeks. Stayed right in the receiver's hip pocket. And again, Quade Hawkins kind of lofted that ball up, allowed Jalen Huff to get his head around and make a play on the ball. Great job. Hip pocket, and underthrown. And Huff was actually in a better position to intercept that.
Yeah, and remember, Huff is the kid who is committed to Oklahoma, one of the best defensive backs in the state of Georgia. My question with that call is that doesn't get you into field goal range, and now you're forced to go for it on the final play of the first half. And Buford will call a timeout. Again, I in no way, shape, or form would I ever dream of second-guessing Littleton, Jeff Littleton, the head coach for Bainbridge, widely regarded as one of the best head coaches in the state of Georgia. No question about that. And so please don't take my commentary to mean that. He knows his kicker after all. And I'm not trying to bag on Caleb Harris either. Again, his long this season, he's 3 for 5 on the year with a 34-yard field goal as his long. Maybe he doesn't like Caleb kicking into this howling, misty rain that's coming in with 15 to 20 mile per hour winds here in North Georgia. And that's probably the call, but I just wonder if maybe you don't think about getting 5 or 10 yards out of that last play if you can.
And that's the thing. The wind is right in the face of where the kicking would come from Caleb Harris. So maybe that's the determination. It was never going to be a field goal attempt with the wind gusting as it is, but then with a timeout left, you can run the ball and move the ball closer rather than
that was kind of my thing. Absolutely.
Go routes to the end zone. You can kind of do things in a screen, and a go route to the end zone puts you in a really poor situation because you could have picked up 5-10 more yards and then called a timeout and make it an easier route.
Well, we know what they're doing here with 4 seconds remaining, don't we? And so Buford will back it up defensively. Quade into the end zone, got a man down there, and a flag comes flying in. We're going to have ourselves an untimed down to end the first half. Pass interference is going to continue the first half. Buford going to be sitting on the doorstep with no time remaining on the first half clock.
Honesty versus reality. That was an uncatchable ball, honestly, but the reality of it was you cannot do what they did to the receiver on that play, Calvin Blow. basically was shoving him from the 5-yard line up until 3 yards deep into the end zone. And where they threw the flag, it will only be half the distance from the goal if it occurred in the end zone. And then the ball gets spot on the 3-yard line. But now they're in field goal range.
Absolutely they are. The ball will be spotted on the 17-yard line. So Caleb Harris comes out for a 27-yard field goal attempt. He'll have to pull it to his left to knock it in. Remember, 15-mile-per-hour winds, 10 sustained. At times, 15 to 20 miles per hour, and the rain coming down rather, well, let's say at a medium level here. Bobbled snap, it's loose. Still loose. Buford has it. And no points on the final play of the first half. A wild finish to a wild first half. The Cinderella of the 5A classification jumps out to a 16-0 lead on the Dynasty. But the machine comes roaring back for 13 points in a row to draw within a possession. The halftime coming up. And now a look at what's trending in high school football around the country. And it's presented by Max Preps.
I am not going to lie, that hype video gets me going every single time. What is good, streaming people? Welcome to another edition of CBS Sports HQ. It is the high school football show where we prep the big games of the weekend, give you a look at the top players across the country. So let's not wait. Let's get you top 10 right now in terms of the Max Preps Excellent 25 and St. John Bosco, Allen, Mater Dei, all right there. Carroll City and IMG Academy at 4 and 5. We know IMG Academy, they have already finished up their slate of games. And then St. Francis Academy, Centennial, Colquitt County, St. Louis out of Hawaii, and then Miami Central. We'll be talking about two of those Florida schools coming up. So without further ado, bring in our guest, Zach Poff, Mr. Everything Football Editor out in Sacramento, California, joining us via Max Preps. And then we got Barton Simmons, 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting, also does analytic stuff for us here at CBS Sports HQ out of the Nashville, Tennessee area. Gentlemen, good to have you as always. And so let's get right to it, kind of focus on some of the big things that we have going on right here in college football. And as we take a look at some of the ones that we're really focusing on, the Cali playoffs right now, number 7, Corona Centennial, number 3, Mater Dei. Zach Poff, I'll give you first word in terms of this juicy, saucy matchup.
Hey, I always say get your popcorn ready, and this is one of the most anticipated games, not just in Southern California, but in high school football. You got two top 10 programs, two legendary head coaches, Bruce Wallinson for Mater Dei and Matt Logan for Corona Centennial. And there's a bunch of big-time matchups in this one, but the one I'm looking most forward to is Corona Centennial's playmakers on offense going up against that Mater Dei secondary led by Elias Riggs, Darion Green-Warren, and Jeremiah Cordell. A guy I got circled for Centennial, though, that I think will be the X factor is the running back Thomas Kinslow. I think if he gets close to 200 yards tonight, I really think Centennial is going to have a chance to pull this one off because Mater Dei is playing at a high level right now since that St. John Bosco loss.
So again, the first meeting between these two SoCal powers since 2015. It is the CIF Southern Division section that is Division I bracket in terms of what we're looking at. Again, I know you touched upon it a little bit, but what about the talent on the field, Zach? Who are some of the guys, of course, that we've been talking about all year that you can talk about tonight?
Yeah, for Mater Dei, you know, Brew McCoy, I believe, is the best player in high school football. He's a beast on both sides of the ball. Then you got Bryce Young at quarterback. 2020 USC committee is the #1 dual-threat quarterback among all juniors. And Keon Ware-Hudson on the D-line for Mater Dei is also a big-time guy. And the guy kind of getting slept on, a 2020 linebacker, Koba Fuamatu, big-time linebacker in the 2020 class. And switching things to Corona Centennial, this defense is probably the best defense Logan's had since they won a state title back in 2008 when they had Vontez Burfict and Will Sutton. and it's led by Drake Jackson, a 4-star defensive end in the 2019 class. He's a big-time playmaker on defense, and they're going to need a big game for him tonight to at least be able to contain Bryce Young, because Bosco showed that's how you beat Mater Dei. You keep him in the pocket. If Centennial can do that, they're going to have a chance to pull the upset here tonight.
All right, we're looking at a screen grab of the bracket on Max Preps. Very familiar in all my years covering high school football. On the top of that half, though, in terms of the bracket, another big-time matchup in the section. You got number 1, St. John Bosco. Number 1 across the country, according to Max Preps and my guy Zach Pop. Number 19, Oaks Christian, although Oaks Christian going to be without arguably the best player in the country, Kayvon Thibodeau. What type of impact will that have on this game?
It's always going to be tough, man, where you're missing, the number 1 guy on 24/7 Sports Composite Rankings, Kayvon Thibodeau. But, honestly, Tommy, I'm not even trying to be rude. I don't think it really matters, man. I think St. John Bosco is just clearly the better team. They're more well-rounded. They got more weapons. And they also got some guy, DJ Owangale, at quarterback, who I believe is the best gunslinger in high school football. But I do give Oaks Christian a tiny chance because of 2019 Michigan commit Zach Charbonnet. He had over 200 yards on the ground last week in a 35-34 win over a Jay Serra team that gave Bosco its biggest test of the season. But I don't think it matters that Kayvon's not playing because of the suspension. I like Bosco big tonight and to make it to the CIF section championship game for the 6th consecutive year. They're rolling, man.
All right, so Zach still likes SJB in this top 25 matchup. So that's Southern California. We've broken that down extensively. Now let's move things over to South Florida. And as we take a look at this game, I'll get Barton's take in just a little bit, but number 4, Carroll City. Number 10, Miami Central. Zach, break this one down for us.
This is a huge game, man. These two teams played, nearly a month ago. Carroll City got the best of Miami Central. They won 36-28. And it was really the fast start they got out to. They jumped up 16-0, and they were able to really hold on to that lead. I think it's going to be a tighter game this time around. I do picks for PrepForce.com. I picked Carroll City, but I really would not be surprised if Miami Central won. They got a bunch of dudes, especially from the 2020 class. Henry Gray is one of the best corners in high school football, regardless of class. He's only a junior. I like Maurice Underwood at quarterback a lot, but what Daniel Richardson's doing for Carroll City at quarterback's been big time this year. He's about to move past Rakeem Cato for the most passing yards in Miami section history if he throws for 84 yards this weekend. So he's doing big-time things, a transfer from Booker T. Washington. He's trying to end his high school career just how he started it when he won a state title at Booker T. Washington his freshman season.
So, Zach, breaking down some of the quarterbacks there again. This is a second-round Florida 6A playoff matchup. Barton, there's a lot of other talent on this field, 4-star guys, 3-star guys. What are you having your eye on in terms of the anticipation of this game?
Well, one of the things I love about this Carroll City team is, they do have really good football prospects and a bunch of guys that are going to play on Saturdays. But heading into this 2018 season, this wasn't a team just loaded with superstars that we necessarily expected to see up here at the number 4 team in the country. Zach talked about Daniel Richardson. He's about 5'9". He's got a couple offers, FIU, FAU, UAB. And as productive as he's been, that's not a guy that gets the big-time offers. But this Miami or Carroll City team just keeps on rolling. And I really think that that's what's exciting about this team. And it's fun to watch a Miami team that's got so many athletes, but maybe not the national names, go out and really take care of business. And that's what they've been doing this fall.
All right, now let's take a look at some of the top games in terms of the teams in the top 5. It is scoreboard time as we can get you the visuals. We've talked about the one up in Oaks Christian versus St. John Bosco. We targeted the one at the bottom. We've even talked about Mater Dei and Centennial out of California. Zach, what about Allen, Texas? The Eagles are like, hey, man, we're over here in Texas just chilling, doing our business, doing our thing. What are we to make of their game against Rowley?
Tommy, I'll make this short and easy. They're going to win their 28th consecutive game and roll tonight. You can book that.
Boom, done. All right, love it. Certainly taking a look at the rankings, we gave you the top 10. Now let's move forward and give you 11 through 20. And as we list some of them here, De La Salle, by the way, their games, CBSSports.com/De La Salle can be streamed out of California. The Spartans are still 11-0. St. Thomas Aquinas, North Shore, St. John's, and Warren Central. Indiana in the house at 12-0. Then 16 through 20, you see it all right there. We talked about Duncanville before, and then Chandler, Arizona coming in at number 20. Then we finish things off with 21 through 25. Folsom out of California. Bulldogs, we talked about them. 10-1, and then DeMatha out of Maryland rounding out the top 25 at 8-2. Some other notable games that we want to let people know about. Zach, as we take a look at some of the key ones outside of the ones that we have already discussed, I mentioned DeMatha, mentioned Warren Central. Tell us a little bit about more.
Yeah, Warren Central, man, they're going for their 9th state title. They got to beat Center Grove to get to that 6A state championship game first. This is going to be a big-time game. Two things real quick I got my eyes on in that one is the running back play. Center Grove's Carson Still, a 2021 prospect. He's big-time. And 2019 Southern Illinois commit Romeo Elliott having a big-time year for Warren Central. And David Bell, he's a big-time wide receiver. Gonzaga, DeMatha getting played on Sunday for the WCA championship. Last time these two met up, it went to 3 overtime, so it's going to be a big one for sure.
All right, a championship game on Sunday for DC versus Maryland. All right, great first segment, gentlemen. When we come back, a breakdown of the regions and then a breakdown of the top recruiting storylines. Don't go anywhere. More CBS Sports HQ coming up. You are streaming CBS Sports HQ. This is the high school football show, Max Preps 24/7 Sports, regional breakdown, time, West Coast. Look, we spent a lot of time on the West Coast. Real quickly, though, I want to hit up on St. Louis out of Hawaii. Going out there, trying to be Division I Open State champs yet again for a three-peat. The quest continues. So let's move to now the Southwest region. Allen, Texas, we touched upon. North Shore, Duncanville, University Lab, and Katy, the top 5 in the region. So with that, let me bring back in Mr. Zach Poff, who wins the Texas 6A D1 state title.
And listen, before we get to there, I'm going to tell you who I got making it to the semifinals. This is a crazy bracket, 64-team field. I'm going to have Allen playing Duncanville on one side of the bracket. And on the other side of things, I like Garrett Wilson and Lake Travis to get there, going up against the Sauce team of 2018. And yes, that's Houston Power, North Shore High School. All right, so that means I'm going to have North Shore beat Lake Travis, and Allen will beat Duncanville. Allen, North Shore, who's going to win it all? I'm going to go with the Sauce team of 2018 to pull the upset and knock off the defending 6A D1 state champs Allen in the title game. Book it.
Wow. Okay, so that is the breakdown. Just to be sure, anybody listening, if you have a gripe, at Zach_Poff_MP. Just want to make sure I got that out there.
Hey, real quick, the only reason I'm picking them too is because of some dude named Zachary Evans, who might be the best player in 2020. He's a big-time running back. I love his game, man. He's a beast. And Shadrach Banks, a 2021 kid. He's on the Sauce team also. Those two guys, get your popcorn ready for those boys.
No, I love it. Good stuff there in terms of the breakdown and the prediction. Just want to let people know this is an interactive show. Hit up Zach if you have certainly an opinion on what is going on. All right, now go to the Southeast region. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we have going on there. We talked about Carroll City, Miami Central. Boy, loaded is Florida. Yes, St. Thomas Aquinas on a quest for 8th state title since 2007. All right, moving on to the Midwest region. Warren Central, we talked about the game ahead of them for this weekend. Center Grove, one of the biggest games of the week in terms of the semifinal 6A Indiana State playoffs. So you take a look at there. Those are the 5 best teams in the Midwest region. And now let's go to the Northeast. WCAC championship game type stuff there. And as we take a look at the 5 teams to highlight, Zach, who else should we be talking about, and who do you have your eye on in terms of the game? The Gonzaga.
Yeah, you got to, that's going to be a big-time game, man. And the last time they played and went to 3 overtimes. Gonzaga's got a ton of momentum on their side, though. They just took down the number 3, or was number 3, now 14. St. John's headed them their first loss of the season with a 24-14 win. Now, there was a questionable fumble call. I'm not going to get into that. Don't want to take any respect away from Gonzaga. They're rolling right now. They're loaded with talent. But I think DeMatha is just playing too well right now. And I love what DeMarco Helms is doing, a 2019 Alabama commit, along with Nick Cross, a 2019 Florida State commit. Marshawn Lloyd, the 2020 running back, is back and healthy. And last time they played Gonzaga, he balled for 4 touchdowns. I expect another big-time game from Lloyd on Sunday against Gonzaga. I think it's going to be a very tight game, but I think DeMatha is going to pull it out and bring home the WCAC title.
Perfect. All right, so again, that game on Sunday, we'll have to wait a little bit longer to get there, but it will be worth the wait. Good stuff there from Zach Poff. When we come back, going to bring back Barton Simmons, talk some recruiting stuff, and then we'll wrap things up here on CBS Sports HQ. You are streaming CBS Sports HQ. It is the top recruiting storylines in 24/7 Sports. LSU lands a 5-star running back, a big name, some big implications in the SEC. Mississippi State gets 3 2020 commits, and then Yale loses a 3-star offensive lineman. We'll talk about it with our guy, Barton Simmons, who happens to be a Yale guy. We'll get to that in just a little bit there, Barton. But first, it is, of course, LSU landing a 5-star guy, and it is John Emery, former Georgia guy, decommitted, staying in Louisiana. What type of impact does this have on the recruiting landscape?
It's a huge impact. And remember, John Emery was once committed to Georgia, which was about the biggest steal in the 2019 cycle to date, getting the best running back in Louisiana to commit to an SEC rival. Well, LSU's got him back in the fold now. And it's huge because, remember, LSU this year really hasn't had the bevy of NFL first-round, second-round type of backs that we're used to seeing. Well, John Emery Jr. is that type of back. He's 5'11", 205 pounds. He'll end up playing at 225. He's got 4.4 speed. Just an unbelievable talent. Turn on the film, and he is a no-doubt kind of guy. And he joins Tyrion Davis, who's also a 6'1", 230-pound running back in his own right, who's got 700-meter speed. So LSU suddenly, in one recruiting class, led by John Emery Jr., the 5-star back, is looking like the LSU of old, with elite backs that can take it the distance every time they touch the football. So I think that's a big get, particularly with Ed Ogeron, as he tries to continue to put a strong fence around the state of Louisiana. I think if he does that, they're going to have a chance to compete with Alabama year in, year out.
So, Barton, we're taking a list of LSU, or taking a look, I should say, of LSU's top 150 there that we've updated with Mr. Emery Jr. Where does this rank among the nation's elite?
Pretty good class. I mean, it's a top 5 class right now. And Derek Stingley's another guy. We just recently updated our 24/7 Sports rankings for the class of 2019. And Derek Stingley moved up to the number 2 player in the country as a cornerback. So that kind of movement is huge. The one guy that's not on that list, Ishmael Sopsher, a defensive tackle, 5-star guy in the state of Louisiana that Alabama's chasing. Again, if LSU can just lock up every elite recruit in the state of Louisiana, it sounds difficult, but LSU's the one school that has that kind of clout. Then that's a big development in their continued push to try to compete with Alabama in the SEC West.
Staying in the conference, Mississippi State and Joe Moorhead getting 3 2020 guys. Break this down for us and what it means for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, this is important, Tommy, because this year in the 2019 cycle, Mississippi State's done a really good job in Joe Moorhead's first year, bringing in a bunch of talented prospects from inside the state. And it's a historic year in state. And it matches up well because there's enough to go around. Everyone can have their fair share. Mississippi State's certainly done that. But Joe Moorhead, remember, comes from Penn State. Before that, he was at Fordham in the Bronx. So he needs to show that he can continue to recruit the state of Mississippi effectively year in, year out. And you look at who he's landed now, E.J. Mason, Javorius Selman, and Lydiatric Griffin. Those are among the best players in the state of Louisiana. You see that 3-star next to Lydiatric Griffin's name. That's going to go up in the future. I mean, he is a future 4-star prospect, absolutely dynamic playmaker, a little bit undersized, but a guy that will really give them the kind of playmaking ability on the perimeter that in some ways this team's been missing this year. So just in terms of trajectory, building a 2020 in-state class on top of the strong 2019 effort that they've got this year, really good development there for Joe Moorhead and that staff that's really made up of several kind of outsiders from the Mississippi region.
Boy, you know, our producer, Matt Coca, talking about Lydiatric sounds like something you get if you get shut down. And if you shut down some wide receivers and some running backs, that's we're looking at some video of what he can produce here on a football field. All right, so one more thing that we're going to talk about here. A kid named Ron Carr decommits from Yale. By the way, if you've seen it before, we might have already shown it in the stage for the show. Barton Simmons, Director of Scouting, 24/7 Sports. Check. Does a great job in terms of being a college football analyst and a writer for CBS Sports. Check. If you miss it sometimes, it's a little small there. Yale defensive back, so they're talking about Yale right now, and Ron Carr decommits. What does this mean for the school, and what does it mean for this young man who took to Twitter and basically paraphrasing, saying that the final decision is coming soon?
Well, look, yeah, it's a rough blow for my Bulldogs, but this is how they're recruiting right now. You know, they're recruiting at a level where big-time programs trying to steal their recruits. And this kid is what I love about recruiting, is when you find these guys senior seasons first year playing football was as a junior. He was about 205, 210 pounds. Basketball player before that. Now all of a sudden as a senior, he's up to about 250 pounds. He's 6'5", playing offensive tackle, and all of a sudden all these big-time schools are chasing him. He's taking an official visit to Vanderbilt this weekend. Rice wants him. USC has offered him, and he's going to take a visit out there. Duke, where he's got a couple crystal ball predictions too. So all of a sudden, this is a kid that everybody wants, and for good reason. If you turn on his film, he's an unbelievable athlete. He's nasty. He's very physical. And as he continues to get stronger and bigger, this is the type of guy we look back on and say, where in the hell did this guy come from? And now he's a first-round draft pick. He could have that kind of trajectory. Yale's going to regret not being able to keep him in the fold, but I do think he's going to be a guy that's an impact player wherever he lands. He's got about 4 official visits coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, that is the name of the game, and Yale's loss is going to be someone else's game, but the crystal ball certainly says Duke going to be the beneficiary of that one. We will wait and see. Let's welcome in back Zach Poff, of course, from Max Preps, and as we get ready now, get you out the door or on your way with, again, some of the big games that we have and what we're targeting this weekend. And as we take a look at the top games there, Zach Poff, again, your biggest game is which game?
Oh, that's tough, man. This is the best slate of games we've seen all year.
Ever.
But I'm going SoCal, Modern Day, Centennial. It's a big-time game. It's one of the best games of the year. And I didn't give a prediction earlier. I'm going to give it now. I like Modern Day 41-35 in a big-time shootout.
Boy, that is a loaded list of games. And again, Modern Day and Centennial, you like Modern Day. Gentlemen, good stuff as always for Zach Poff and Barton Simmons. I'm Tommy Trent. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday. We're back next week right after Thanksgiving. More football. We don't sleep. We don't rest. Guys, thank you very much. And don't forget about the 24/7 podcast. Barton, Chip, Tom, all the guys getting you ready, of course. So have a great weekend. Have a great holiday, everybody. We will see you next week.
The NFHS Learning Center is the leader in online education for the interscholastic community. At NFHSLearn.com, you can find over 60 courses for coaches, administrators, officials, parents, students, and performing arts programs, including over 25 free courses such as concussion in sports, heat illness prevention, sudden cardiac arrest, and protecting students from abuse. For more information, visit the NFHS Learning Center.
Back at Tom Ryden Stadium in Buford, Georgia, where an Arctic blast coupled with a heavy rain has been laid upon the metro Atlanta, North Georgia area. Thanks for joining us back on the NFHS Network Road to State here on the Facebook Watch tab. This is the 2018 GHSA Class 5A State Quarterfinals. We're down to the Elite Eight in the third highest classification here in the state of Georgia, where 2 old legendary programs, Bainbridge and Buford, are getting together. Bainbridge, a Cinderella story in 2018. Buford, one of the all-time great programs. And right now the Bearcats with a 3-point lead. And Brandon Joseph, here's how we got here.
Yeah, and it started with a Buford safety on a block punt in the end zone. Then Bainbridge, after taking the possession off the free kick, run it back. Nice cut back to the end zone. Caleb McDowell makes it 9-0 Bainbridge. And at that point, we were a little concerned, wondering what had happened to Buford. Then after another fumble, let's take a look at Buford. Another mistake from Buford. Aaron McLaughlin has to try to get on it, unable to get to it. It kind of rolls around, and then it falls in the lap of a Bainbridge defender. And that's when we were really getting concerned. And then Bainbridge offense comes back on the field. And a little Quade Hawkins handoff up the middle. Caleb McDowell, his second touchdown of the day, makes it 16-0. And then Buford was finally able to get something going. Let's take a look at McLaughlin. Steps up a nice throw to Wilson. And that's followed up by just a hand up the gut from Darian Brown. And that's what we've seen from this Texas commit. You give him just a little bit of space, and he'll go right through the gut and get to the end zone. Then Buford's defense bowed up, nice couple of stops, gets the ball to Darian Brown again, and Brown right up the gut, another big run. Good backside pursuit by Devin Bowie. Smoke Bowie pulls him down, but they're unable to keep Buford out of the end zone on a nice read fake by Aaron McLaughlin. Seeing Eric Sanders dive down, pulls it back, takes it to the house, and that brings us to our 16-13 score here at Tom Ryden Stadium. And Mooney, we talked about it at the half and leading into it. Uncle Mo starting to shift towards Buford way, and despite the fact that they have less total yards, they're starting to get things going offensively, especially late in the second half.
This was a 16-0 ball game at the 6:27 mark of the first quarter, I beg your pardon. So we were not even halfway through the first quarter, and it was already 16-0 for the boys in gold and purple. But then Buford slowly started to chip away, and you got two old legendary programs going at it here in North Metro Atlanta. Again, alongside Brandon Joseph, I'm Chris Mooney. Thanks for joining us. Both of these teams incredibly confident and excited coming into this ball game. Bainbridge at one point was 2-5 on the season. Or check that. I guess they were 2-4 at one point. I'll beg your pardon. Won their last 4 ball games. Into this matchup. They were a 5-5 team at the end of regular season play, but they've got a host of contributors that are very, very young, sophomores, juniors that haven't played a lot of snaps. And all of those young men have found themselves over the last month or so to put together this winning streak that has turned them into kind of the Cinderella story of the 5A classification. They entered the playoffs and defeated a very good Jones County team that was only a number 3 seed by losing 2 close ball games during the regular season to 2 of the best teams in the state. They beat Jones County. Then last week, Bainbridge took out a top 5 team, undefeated, 11-0, region champions in Wayne County. That was one of the bigger shocks in the state of Georgia in the playoff season. Well, now they're bidding for potentially the biggest shock of the 2018 playoff season. Both crowds on their feet, both teams on their feet, hopping around and trying to get the blood flowing on what is a Arctic chilly type night in Metro Atlanta. The wind is swirling 15 to 20 miles per hour at times, and the wind and the rain is coming down constantly. This is McDowell. Caleb McDowell down the near sideline. McDowell 40, 35-30, 25-20. Caleb McDowell, lightning strike in the rain in Atlanta.
No flags on the play. Caleb McDowell, what an amazing and athletic run. Kind of like what we saw from Darian Brown last week. The sophomore taking the kickoff back 90-plus yards to the house, and we worried about momentum. Momentum back in the corner of Bainbridge. It was a very athletic run by McDowell, breaking tackles. And Buford did just about everything right on a kickoff return. Stayed in their lanes, but it was just they were beat by McDowell in a very athletic run.
Caleb McDowell with the kickoff return for a touchdown. Amazing. The Bearcats trying to shock the Georgia high school football world. Too many men on the field for Bainbridge. And on Bainbridge?
Buford.
It was on Buford. Thank you. That makes more sense. The penalty declined by the Bearcats. And Caleb Harris puts the extra point up and through. 23-13. Let's take another look.
Yeah, McDowell comes through the wedge, and Buford, nice job of blowing up. That broken tackle there is huge because it ends the lane assignments from Buford. You saw the 2 guys back there. The kicker gets taken out, clean block up ahead, and now it's a foot race. That's why lane assignment is so important on kickoffs. We saw 2 Buford players go for the tackle, and when you're unable to make the tackle, it really ruins lane integrity on kickoff, and then Caleb McDowell just showcased some speed to get up there. Once the kicker's beat, then it's a foot race, and then you're just going off of pure speed of who can catch McDowell from the back, and not a lot of people can.
Caleb McDowell may have just put together the biggest play on a high school football turf in the Metro Atlanta, the Metroplex that is Atlanta tonight. And, of course, so many high school football games going on across the Metroplex, across the Empire State of the South. Bainbridge, the Cinderella story, trying to take out a team that I've grown to call the Machine over the last 20 years, that being the Buford Wolves, who have won 11 state championships since the turn of the century. One of the great all-time programs in national high school football. A line drive kick that's going to be taken just south of the 15-yard line, and this is Darian Brown, by the way. Speaking of great running backs, he comes down to the bottom side, and he will be eventually brought down at around the 35. We knew we'd see a great running back in this ball game who would probably put together some pretty solid, if not spectacular numbers, and we were thinking it was Darian Brown, but tonight Caleb McDowell has been the star running back. Caleb McDowell, the sophomore running back, with 2 rushing touchdowns and a kickoff return for a score as well.
And that by no means is saying Darian Brown has had a poor night. Darian Brown has had some good runs. Just Caleb McDowell has been that spectacular for the Bearcats.
So Buford continues to play from behind the 8 ball, as it were. 28 seconds into this second half. And he's getting tackled right in the middle. Buford continues to try to pound the middle of the line of scrimmage, Brandon. And for good reason. Again, one of the best offensive lines in the state of Georgia. I know I mentioned it a couple of times during the first half, but sometimes it's just not your night. And tonight it looks like Bainbridge is playing that run game to the top of their ability on the interior defensively.
And what they're trying to do is just win, so much win, but contest the battle in the trenches, in the middle, and allow Darian Brown that cutback, and they're not able to have the cutback lane available.
McLaughlin with a rifle shot that is nearly intercepted. Yeah. Oh, my goodness, that was nearly intercepted by Dion Bowie. And Smoke almost came up with his 6th interception of the year.
That's a long throw for the quarterback to make that deep route on the out, but that ball hung up there and probably kissed a few clouds, and it just gave Smoke Bowie some time to close in. There's really not much you can do when the smoke's bearing down on you.
2 wide receivers to the bottom side. Got a tight end on top. Brown going to get the handoff. Darian shakes off 1 and 2, and Darian Brown bursts into the clear. Darian Brown. Touchdown, Buford.
And that's why they keep on running up the middle with Darian Brown. He gets sprung off the middle, and a great job by the left side of the line by Buford. Darian Brown comes up the middle and springs it out and was able to get to that second level. And once you're at that second level, if you're not in the right position, if you're a linebacker, you're not going to take down Darian Brown. And that third level, they're always out of position. When you're third level, when that defensive back line has to make a tackle, it is just luck on their side. And Darian Brown just shows that he has that gear when he gets into that third level, and it's just runaway speed.
I've been covering Georgia high school football since 1993, I think it is. Darian Brown is one of the great running backs I think I've ever seen. The extra point on the way and good from Hayden Olson. It's now 23-20 after the touchdown run by Darian Brown. We'll get another look at it. His 2nd of the ball game.
And this is what he did. That block from that left side, 1, closed up. Riley Simons over there, and it's just a foot race. And Darian Brown wins that more times than not. Nobody in frame with Darian Brown. The linebacker sold out to try to stop the run there, and once he was able to get past there, Darian Brown was off to a foot race. And so many teams sell out on Darian Brown with that second level. The third level is always out of position, so you have to get him down there, or you have to slow him up to allow the defensive backs to come in and clean up the mess. When you're not able to, that's what the product you get. You get a clear shot of Darian Brown with nobody else around him, no white jerseys in frame.
Well, this has been just a great ball game so far, by the way. If you're tuning in late, just joining us here in this third quarter, sit around and watch the end of it with us, won't you? And then if you're so inclined, maybe go back and watch the first half and build into the drama that has been a great ball game so far. Talking to a Buford official, by the way, at the half, as there were 47 people in line to get coffee on a frigid night in the press box here at old Tom Ryden Stadium, which has seen a lot of history. Pooch kick. And it's taken outside of the 30-yard line. That's not a bad idea. Good job by the return man. That's Michael Ryan, the junior, to stay with it, catch that one short, and not turn over the football as we've seen so often on those pooch kicks in Georgia high school football. Matter of fact, you and I, we were here last week. We happened to be here covering Buford last week when they beat Kell in the Sweet 16, and Kell put up a pooch kick that took a funny hop and bounced over the return man's head, and Kell ended up returning it. Want to get through this point just really quick as Darian Brown scored that last touchdown for Buford. Talking to a Buford assistant who's been here for 20 years roughly at Buford, where this team has been as dominant as they have been over the last 2 decades. He says Darian Brown is the greatest running back to ever come through this program. That's high praise. This is Broadnax, Rashad Broadnax, with about a half-yard gain or so. They might give him the 35-yard line. We'll be at the 10.5-minute mark. We're off to a lightning quick type of start, I beg your pardon, of this second half. Just a minute and a half in, both teams with scores.
Yeah, and Bainbridge, kind of like the first half, begins with big swings and creating scores. The safety, now the kickoff return. What Buford had to do was kind of force Bainbridge to settle into their offense, and then Bainbridge wasn't really able to move the ball on a full field. So you took that punch of the kickoff return from McDowell. Now you have to force him to go long field because you like your odds, and it starts there with Jalar Holly.
Jalar Holly, the future University of Miami Hurricane. With his 13th tackle for a loss on the season. He's got 47 for the year, tackles that is. A kid with 6.5 sacks. He's a big man on the interior, number 90.
And Holly just throws away Jacob McLaughlin and snuffs out the play in the backfield. That was a pull, but the whole thing, if you're Jacob McLaughlin, if you're the pulling guard, you want to pull the nose tackle with you. Jalar Holly was able to disengage the block, kind of push McLaughlin out of the way, and pursue to the backfield.
They'll call it just a 1-yard loss. Ball spotted at the 34-yard line, 3rd and 10. 9-minute mark during this play. Quade Hawkins looks, throws a deep ball. Got a man down there, but he overshot him, and it's incomplete.
And that's lack of timing from the young sophomore quarterback.
Caleb McDowell, the intended receiver.
It's the right look, but you got to either loft that up, and the wind's at his back, so the wind probably did play a factor in him making that carry, but still an overthrow. He didn't really give McDowell a shot to get to the ball.
I'm not sure if you can tell on your laptop screen, your tablet screen, your smartphone screen, or perhaps even on your television screen, just how brisk this wind is in Buford. Caleb Harris, that one might have kicked off the side of his foot. Stays towards the center of the field and rests down north of the 25-yard line. You can see the rain droplets on your screen on our camera. And I know we've talked about it a good bit tonight, and I'll beg your forgiveness if it's starting to wear thin for you out there in viewer land, but we have to continue to bring it up because it is the third factor in the ball game. This is not just Buford versus Bainbridge. It's Buford and Bainbridge versus the elements tonight.
And this is a field that has seen rain and cold and a lot of elements, and the field is holding up pretty well. But with more rain expected, everything has a breaking point. Everything has that peak point. And you can notice the field is getting a little chewed up in the middle. And for two running teams, that's going to be big.
Brown continues to stay on his feet. And Darian near the first down mark. Darian Brown closing in on 1,750 yards for the year now. If they can take their season, Buford, out to the state championship game, remember we're in the state quarterfinals, if Buford were to win this ball game and get to the title game, he's got an outside shot at the mythical 2,000 number. Mystical 2,000 number. The highly touted 2,000 number. 8-minute mark during this play. Buford with possession. They've never led in the ball game. Trailed 3 plays into the ball game, or 4 to be precise. Darien going to get the handoff. Hop over a pile of players. Get the first down, I believe. Indeed, they'll move the chains. It'll be first down, 38-yard line.
And at some point, a coach is going to have to tell his linemen, we've seen this being here the last 3 weeks, don't sell out on Darien Brown. Don't try to just lower your shoulder and dive at his legs. He loves that. He loves to hurdle over people. He's hurdled in the lineman to bounce it back out. Kid's very skilled.
Elijah Turner met at the line of scrimmage by a couple of Bearcats.
Big man in the middle, Roman Harrison for Bainbridge.
Yep.
The Tennessee commit blows up that play, and that's what he can do from that, what they call the strike position.
He also got some help from Randy Filling-Game. First time that we have had the opportunity to dive into Randy's season, and he's had a big one. We mentioned him earlier in the ball game. Kid who was third in the state in wrestling last year, 5'6", 184, but a really tough kid who's had a great 2018 season. Fire down to the bottom side, incomplete. And guess who was there on coverage? Randy Filling-Game. So he'll give me an opportunity to talk about him a little bit more. 85 tackles on the year, leads his club. 23 tackles for a loss for number 34, the middle linebacker for Bainbridge. And now 3rd and long coming up.
And that was a play that they would want to have back if you're Aaron McLaughlin. Coverage was pretty soft there. You had a couple of defenders in your face, but McLaughlin just kind of tomahawked that ball, held on to it a little bit long. And that's the thing with the weather. When you start losing a little bit of feeling in your fingertips, you tend to hold on to the ball, overcompensate a little too much.
He'll throw again. Step up into the pocket. He will not run. He'll fire. Got a man down there. Incomplete. Wait a minute. We're getting 2 different rulings, and now they're going to talk about it.
They're going to call it a catch.
They are going to give it to him. They're going to give it to either Wilson or Turner. I'm not quite sure who made the catch. There were 2 men down there, so I'll beg your pardon. They are going to give that to Zyree Wilson. Boy, oh boy, that's a close call. And we do have another look at it. We'll see how quickly we can get through this replay because Buford is trying to get back to the line of scrimmage.
I don't know. It was Austin Turner.
Yes, indeed. Fake the handoff. McLaughlin went to the top side, and he was knocked down shy of the line of scrimmage. A giant burst of rain and wind comes whipping through the stadium, comes whipping through our press box, throws paper and God knows what else all through the press box. Holy
that's
smokes.
right in the face of Aaron McLaughlin and this Buford offense, too.
That's why I brought it up, not to complain about what we're going through, but that was exactly my point, is that I wonder if he had a pass option on that, if it was an RPO, because they will run that as well. 6-minute mark. He got hit by that big gust of wind and instantly tucked it in and took off and then slid down, giving up on the play. Brown met behind the line of scrimmage. The Bainbridge defense is stiffening, bringing up a 3rd and very long.
3rd and long, just like the last 3rd and long. What they're going to do here is try to get McLaughlin on the move, give him some time, because this is where Bainbridge likes to pin their ears back and come after the quarterback, Brian Hill, Joe Dollar, the 2 co-defensive coordinators for the Bearcats. They're going to try to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, force him off of his spot, and a throw on the run.
The time just ticking away in this ball game, down to just over 17 minutes remaining. Can Bainbridge pull off this monumental upset? Brown is met at the line of scrimmage, or just a shade past it. He'll fall forward for about a 1.5 yard gain at best. Ball going to be spotted just inside the 36-yard line. Will they run Hayden Olson out there for a field goal attempt? No, sir. He's running out there, in fact, for a punt attempt. A little too far to try it in these elements.
Interesting play call there to try to catch them sleeping, showing that 7-man front, bring in pressure. You were hoping that you could win the battle in the middle and just kind of spring Darien Brown up the gut and knowing that there was going to be a big soft spot in between the front rush and the defensive backs.
Olsen averaging 35 yards per punt. He'll pooch this one and try to get just that, 35 that is. He'll get it to rest at the 20. Kick back towards midfield and come drawn dead at the 21. 4:20 mark in this third quarter. And the dream for the Bearcats is absolutely a possibility. The Bainbridge Bearcats trying to pull off what would be the biggest upset in the state of Georgia in these 2018 playoffs. Mind you, Bainbridge, a very good team, a scrappy team, a team that has been better as every week has gone along over the last month of the season. But this would be an upset that no one would have seen coming.
Now if you're Bainbridge, you're just trying to break the game down even further.
Top side, got the wide receiver. I believe that's A.J. Cooper. Let's wait and see once they unpile things. It is A.J. Cooper, 5'8", 177-pounder. His 25th reception of the year. That'll push him up over 395 yards, a really good per catch average. There you see 18 on your screen, 16.3 yards per catch, and he has 4 touchdowns as well. He's a speed guy. But they got a lot of speed guys in the wide receiver core.
And what I mean breaking the game down is every first down gains you a minute of possession. So you want to run your offense, but you want to pick up first downs and also start milking the clock. It's easier to milk the clock now, late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, than it is later in the game.
Rashad Broadnax gets the carry that time, comes down here to the bottom side, and he's dropped by a pack of wolves, if you'll forgive the pun. 3rd and 5 coming up, and the wind really starting to howl now here in North Gwinnett County.
And given the struggles of Quade Hawkins, you don't expect them really to go deep. So you have to guard the flat. You don't really need somebody over the top.
26-yard line, 3-minute mark during the play. This ball is caught. Yes, they're going to give him the catch just past the first down mark. And Bainbridge with a fresh set of downs.
And what Bainbridge is doing is they're just trying to run as many guys across the middle of the field to create confusion when Buford drops back into that zone and try to force miscommunication leading to an open receiver. But Buford doesn't really have to worry about the deep ball. The wind is still gusting at the back of Hawkins. So a ball deep, you have to worry about the sail. So you don't really need to have that roaming free safety. You kind of push him up a little bit and just kind of play under coverage.
Quay going to look and fire, and that ball bounces off the hands of his intended man, A.J. Cooper. When you say the wind is gusting, brother, you mean it. You could hear the wind howling on one of our field mics just a few moments ago, no doubt. Right now here in Buford, it's 37 degrees with a wind chill of, let's see, what does my trusty weather app say? 29 degrees.
Might as well be
29, yeah. You don't like the cold. Handoff. Got a chance at the 40-yard line and an outside shot at the first down mark, and it looks like he's going to be brought down just a yard shy of it. So 3rd and short is coming up.
As a player, you don't mind ambient temperature at all. If it's 37, no wind, that's fine. Your body can adjust. The movement will make up for it. The wind is what gets you if you're playing all sports outdoors. That wind whipping is just the biggest pain as it comes across your body and hits your skin.
37 degrees, 29 degrees with a wind chill. And the wind's gusting, as I mentioned a few moments ago, 15 to 20 miles per hour. 3rd and 1. McDowell stopped behind the line of scrimmage.
Jamal Singleton, great job of blowing that play up. And then Ahmad Craig closing the play out. Singleton came barrel rolling in from the defensive backfield and really forced the ball carrier to level out. And what I mean by that is when you're running the ball, especially laterally, you're just waiting for that lane to open up where you can cut it upfield. So you're always running with depth in mind. So it's not more straight, it's a little more diagonal. What Jamal Singleton did was force him to level out and kind of stay equal, and then Ahmad Craig came in and cleaned up the play. Great defensive play call by Buford.
That was Broadnax on the carry there a moment ago, by the way. My mistake. Fake! Needed just a yard, and they've got it, and a whole lot more. 50, 45, 40-yard line. Beautifully called play at exactly the right time. Oh my goodness, what a great decision there by special teams of Bainbridge. Roman Harrison ends up with the carry on the fake.
It's funny that his position is listed as strike. Well, that was a big strike by the Bearcats there, pulling out all the stops to try to win this ball game. And they could sense that they need it. They need another score. They don't feel 3 is enough.
Absolutely.
And what an amazing call. It would be so easy to punt, pin them back, and just see that you haven't actually had great punts the whole game. So take the shot there.
Confusion by Buford defensively, by the way. Mass confusion. You still see men moving across the line of scrimmage. Bainbridge trying to hurry and snap the football. They fumbled the football, and Buford has it. This ball game is going from sublime to ridiculous.
3 things at play there. If you noticed on your monitor the Buford defensive line adjusting, Colton Holly was running through the neutral zone. If you're a lineman from Bainbridge, all you have to do is move. Just move and create the neutral zone infraction. And then on this play, it's a jet sweep. The ball is sitting on the turf. Why are 2 players looking at it?
Oh, my goodness.
Do you think the ball's going to recover itself?
It's the Cam Newton play in the Super Bowl.
You get caught in the prisoner of the other guy's going to get it.
Oh.
Just get on the ball. Don't think. In those scenarios, Coach will say all the time, when the ball's out, don't think. Attack the football.
What a wild sequence of events. Here's Elijah Turner coming to the bottom side. A defender falls. He's down the near sideline 40, 35, 30. Defensive man has an angle. He's laid out, and Buford is 1 yard from the lead.
Austin Turner just lit the wick on a Bainbridge player.
Now, by the way, Brandon, let me jump in here if you don't mind, my friend. They've thrown the flag. It's going to be one of those backside blocks that they do not want players executing anymore. And now all of the life has been sucked out of both sidelines and the excitement of the play, not because of the penalty, but because there is a man down on the field, and that man was the gentleman who was blocked. I hate to see this.
And it's just one of those things where it's close. Referees are taught to throw the flag from our angle, and
that's
Buford
very
fans
close.
In their comments will say it looked like it was inside the shoulder. I can definitely see how if you're an official, you throw that. If it's close, you're taught to throw the flag.
That is exactly right. You're exactly right, and I'm with you on that. But would you also agree that it's a 50-50 call?
It's a 50. If he doesn't call it, you understand why he didn't call it.
Right.
But what they want to teach, especially in this game of football, this era of football, is don't go throwing your body into somebody. That's really what they want to eliminate. Not so much the blind side block aspect. That is a caveat of it. But what they want to teach Austin Turner, I'm using him as the example because that's the play that happened in front of us. You don't have to throw your shoulder into the guy. You can turn around, get square, initiate a block there. That's what they want to teach there. And that's what they want to take out of the football, the big hits of those shoulder-to-shoulder, that blind side or close to blind side block.
Yeah, and they also will teach the blocker, if the guy can see you, can he see you in his field of vision as you are coming across to lay the hit onto the attempted tackler? If he can see you in his field of vision, then it's live game. If he cannot see you in his field of vision, then you are thereby, quote-unquote, blind-siding the attempting tackling man. So, again, you can understand why Buford was hit with the penalty. And I think if they had not been hit with the penalty, you would have been able to understand that as well. Now, and the carry will count, by the way, but not all the way down to the 1 yard line. We'll dissect that here in just a moment, Brandon. You go ahead.
15 yards from the spot. And what I want to say is the big thing is it's not the initial contact from Turner to the defender. It's the fact that the defender was not in a position where he could adequately protect himself upon falling. And I think that's what we see on the field here is that defender was not prepared to take that hit and then go to the ground. And that was the injury part of it. It wasn't necessarily the hit. It was the fact that the player went unprotected to the ground. He wasn't able to protect himself.
You're seeing now on your screen, by the way, that both teams continuing to try to stay warm on this frigid night as the player now has come to his feet and will get a bit of help in getting off the field.
Bowie.
That is, in fact, Dayon Bowie, kid they call Smoke. And that's a big potential loss as he heads over to the visitor sideline. He is one of the many dynamic freshmen or sophomores on the team that is leading this Bainbridge charge and what has been an amazing playoff run as they took out Jones County, who was a dark horse for a lot of teams, a lot of people, to make a run on this side of the bracket. They then defeated the undefeated Wayne County team last round. Now they're trying to pull off a monumental upset, and Bowie's been a big part of that. So Buford backed up to their 35, or to Bainbridge's 35-yard line, I beg your pardon. And that's where Aaron McLaughlin and the Buford offense will start with Elijah Turner in the backfield. And they'll give it to him promptly. Turner tries to get to the top side and will. He's got the 30, the 25, the 20. And he's brought down at about the 16, maybe the 17-yard line or so. Again, Buford has never led in the ball game. They trailed 2-0, 4 plays into the ball game. They had the initial possession of this affair. They were forced into a punt, and that said punt was blocked in the end zone.
And Turner just cuts it back to the strong side, the right side, and we'll see Gutierrez on the top side. Again, the product of that penalty being called. Gutierrez didn't engage from the side. Gutierrez actually altered his blocking path to try to get in front and kind of force the defensive back. So already seeing the impact of that illegal blindside block.
Darian hops over the line of scrimmage as he so often does, and he's brought down right around the 15-yard line, and that will take us to the fourth quarter. Don't go anywhere, folks. History could be in the making tonight in Metro Atlanta. Buford City is playing host to Cinderella versus the Dynasty. And right now, Cinderella trying to get fit for the slipper. A 3-point game to the fourth quarter. This is the NFHS Network Road to State on Facebook Watch.
The NFHS Learning Center is the leader in online education for the interscholastic community. At NFHSLearn.com, you can find over 60 courses for coaches, administrators, officials, parents, students, and performing arts programs, including over 25 free courses such as concussion in sports, heat illness prevention, sudden cardiac arrest, and protecting students from abuse. For more information, visit the NFHS Learning Center.
It's the fourth quarter from the city of Buford, the state of Georgia, into its quarterfinals. Just 64 teams around the state of Georgia still live with the dream of being crowned state champion. The Elite Eight of the 5A classification here in the state of Georgia. And it's a great matchup in the northern far reaches of Metro Atlanta, where Bainbridge and Buford are going at it in this 5A classification. Back alongside Brandon Joseph, I'm Chris Mooneyham. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bainbridge has just come up with another tackle behind the line of scrimmage. And Buford going to be looking at a third and long. Roman Harris, the future Tennessee Vol, 6'2", 245. The senior comes up with another monster defensive play. Kid who leads his club in tackles for loss, quarterback pressures, and sacks, has just sat Buford back into a 3rd and 9.5. Second play, fourth quarter. Brown tries to run down here to the bottom side. He'll have a gain, but it's a modest one at best. The clock will continue to run, by the way, Brandon. And the ball spotted at the 13-yard line.
The one thing with the change of field at the end of the quarter, the wind will be at the back of Buford kicking and in the face of Bainbridge for this final period. And as you mentioned, Roman Harrison has just been everywhere for Bainbridge every time they need to get a stop. And this is good team defense. Great backside pursuit by Anthony Brooks. He gets through, fights off the block, and then realizes where the play is going. So many guys, especially at this level, they fight off blocks and they don't realize the play is either lateral to them or behind them in the turn to get involved. They're just so focused on winning blocks. That's great football IQ for Anthony Brooks.
From 30 yards out, Hayden Olson on the way, and he pulled it to the near side. For only the second time this year, Hayden Olson has missed a field goal attempt. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's a flag on the play. Olson 6 of 7 on the year.
That's lining up in the neutral zone, I believe.
False start. Back up Buford. It's declined by Bainbridge, and they retake possession. Hayden Olson now 6 of 8 on the year as he misses a 30-yard field goal attempt, and we stay at 23-20.
That's a formation. You can't have more than 5 guys in the backfield on any play. So the guys that line up on the line of scrimmage, the punter holder in the backfield, only 3 more guys can be off the line of scrimmage. And what you do is you try to cheat a little bit, and referees will often allow 1 more guy, but you can't have too many guys off the line of scrimmage. And they do that, just try to give themselves more time against the pressure of the field goal block.
Boy, oh boy, some of these plays have been 50-50 type plays. Some of these plays have gone against Buford where they usually don't. Any of you out there that know your Georgia high school football or know football in general, can you tell me that it doesn't feel like that perhaps the football gods are smiling on the boys in purple tonight?
And if you're Bainbridge, you have to get in the mind of, I need a touchdown here. It may take 1 more trick play. It may take going for it on 4th down on this drive.
McDowell snowed under. South of the 20-yard line. Just shy of the original line of scrimmage, so third and let's call it 10.5 yards coming up.
And Buford, whenever they force Bainbridge in their base, and it's been Jalar Holly winning that battle in the trench, coming off that nose position and disrupting plays in the backfield. And we're starting to see the Buford second level, those linebackers, starting to string out plays against the Bearcat offense. So if you're Bainbridge, what you're limited to is trying to go with those short passes.
Oh, my. No, not just the loss on the play, but in fact an illegal block.
An illegal chop block. And what that is when a defender is engaged high, a player can't go low, or vice versa. So we are often taught to believe when you're engaged high, you can't go low. Somebody can't be diving at your knees while somebody else is coming at your shoulders also. And I think that's what actually happened on that play. A player was getting cut block, which is legal, and a player engaged him in the shoulder pads.
So it does actually stay second down. It's just that it's 2nd and 20 plus. Top side. Got a lot of room, got a first down and a whole lot more. 40, 45, 50, 45, and pushed out of bounds in plus territory. An amazing gain on 2nd and 20.
Nothing aggravates a coach more is when I take the yardage and then the next play they make it back, then some.
Caleb McDowell with another amazing run. Lady Fortune, I'm telling you, continues to smile on Bainbridge tonight.
And this was just a pure sweet play.
There's nothing fancy about this.
No,
Brandon.
It's not. A blocker out in front, and 1 man was able to hold up 2 guys. Number 6, KJ Johnson, and number 40, Evan DiMaggio.
44-yard line. Stacked on the line of scrimmage, 1 wide receiver up on the top side. Got a tight end on that side as well. And Quaid looks to pass. He's got a man down there inside the 20-yard line. Makes the catch resting down at the turf. A rain-soaked, frigid turf at about the 14. Maybe they'll give him the 13. A massive couple of gainers on back-to-back plays. We'll be in the 9-minute mark during this next play. And Bainbridge has a real shot of pulling off the major upset. Michael Ryan with the reception.
And that wall of wind helped Cade Hawkins. That ball just kind of hung up, and Michael Ryan had won his route so well that there was nobody in the picture that he was able to make the adjustment.
It's the 11th reception of the year for Michael Ryan, by the way, as the handoff goes to the back who will come down here to the near side. It'll be a modest gain at best. Michael Ryan, the junior wide receiver, 5'10", 160, his 11th reception of the year. That pushed him up over 110 for the season. Still looking for his first touchdown of the year. Second down play coming up. They'll say that no yardage gained on that last carry. So 2nd and 10, 13-yard line, 8:40 mark coming up.
A field goal is a win here for Buford.
I'm not so sure we'll see a field goal attempt if it comes to it. I got to be honest with you. Each team with one field goal attempt apiece. Buford missed theirs. Bainbridge had a bad snap on theirs. Quaid fires. That's got to be pass interference. No flag. Oh, my goodness. Buford gets away with one there.
We saw a Drake pass interference the other way earlier. I'll be interested to see on the replay here, when did the contact come and where was the ball? Because that arm was wrapped up high.
Yeah.
Sometimes look can be deceiving. And a great job by our crew to get us the replay.
He dragged him down.
He had him in a bulldog position. That should be pass interference.
Oh, my.
Just to be 100% honest, that was more egregious than the other pass interference that we saw.
Indeed. 13-yard line, 3rd and 10. Clock stops at 8:19. High drama in the city of Buford. Bainbridge trying to pull off the Cinderella upset for the 3rd straight week. They'll fire to the top side and nearly intercepted. 4 men converging on the football at the same time. Any of the 4 could have come up with it. 2 men in Kelly Green, 2 men in purple.
And Jalar Holly really blew up that play, getting through the line and forcing Hawkins to roll out to his right. And we'll see Holly here blow up the line. Just another block, one over the center. And Holly, using that big boy speed, forced Hawkins to kind of air it up. And I think Jamal Singleton was kind of caught in between.
Wholesale changes offensively here, or is that, in fact, Caleb Harris that has run out there for the field goal attempt?
Looks like it is Harris.
They just ran out. About 6 new guys, indeed. You're right. Absolutely. Ball will be spotted at the 20-yard line. Buford missed a 30-yard field goal just moments ago. Ensuing drive, Bainbridge is trying to get 3 of their own. From the dead center of the field, the snap, the ball down, it's all good. Caleb Harris's kick is just short.
Flag, they roughed the kicker.
Are you kidding me?
A running into is 5 yards, but no automatic first down. A rough is a 15 and an automatic, so we'll see the referees huddle to see what they saw. And what they look for is the plant foot and the landing foot. You must give a kicker a place to land after he plants, and you cannot hit the plant foot. Any other contact, whether it's up high or after he makes contact and comes through the ball, is just running into.
Tom Skinner, the man in the white hat, our lead official this evening, representing the multiple county football officials association,
15
calls
15-yard.
Unbelievable. It's a personal foul, roughing the kicker, 15-yard penalty, and a fresh set of downs for the Bearcats of Bainbridge. The ball moved all the way up to the 6-yard line. Let's take another look at it.
So we're watching, and that is making contact with both feet. That's not just the plant foot, that is the follow-through foot.
That's a great call.
And a great job by getting that angle from our crew. Really showcasing the contact that was made.
McDowell. Just a shade inside the 5-yard line, it looks like. 2nd down play coming up. We're under the 8-minute mark. I cannot stress enough to those of you watching from outside of the area what a major national moment this could be. Buford, a national program, an 11-time state champion. 10 times they've won state titles in the last 19 years. 10 in the last 19 seasons they've won state championships since the turn of the century. At one point, Buford played in 10 consecutive state championship games here in the state of Georgia. Handoff. McDowell is stopped behind the line of scrimmage. 3rd and long, or 3rd and goal, is coming up.
And Buford, wholesale changes, trying to get jumbo set on. They only had 10 guys on the field for that play. I thought it was weird seeing DiMaggio run back on. They put 2 off and 1 came on. Now they got the right number of guys on there.
Dane Rotundo checks back in, the sophomore. They'll make a couple of other changes. In comes Jamal Singleton, and out comes Quentin Skinner. 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line. 6:45 during this play. Low snap. Quaid stays with it. Trying to throw a ball down here to a wide receiver, and it's incomplete.
And that is a design waggle from the receiver to feign like you're blocking. That's Bowen Dodson, the tight end. And what he does is he engages and tries to leak out once the play is kind of developing around him. But they did a good job of blowing that play up and forcing Hawkins on his back foot.
Picked up the flag. They had a flag out for just a moment, but I believe they've picked it up. Yes, indeed. So 4th and goal coming up. And they're keeping the offense out on the field, by the way. Let's take one last look at the last play.
The low snap really messed up the timing of the play, and then Hawkins was forced to throw off of his back foot.
No field goal attempt. They're going for it. It could be the ball game if they score. Listen to this crowd. Exultation on the home sideline as Davin Bryant, the senior linebacker, comes up with yet another monstrous play in 2018. Buford is getting the football back with 6 minutes and 34 seconds remaining, down by 3.
And Buford, this could be the moment. If they end up winning this game and going on to winning state, that play by Davin Bryant, that was pinning your ears back and deciding, I'm going to get ball. I'm getting home, and I'm going to blow up this play. He shouldn't have been there. That's instinct. They ran a play to take him out of the play, and he read, recognized, and made the play. They air a little highlight package pregame. If they win state, that's getting added to it.
6:34 remaining. Here we go. McLaughlin fires to the top side, and it squirts out of the hands of a wide receiver. We're going to give you some updates on 5A play as we make our way through these last 6.5 minutes of the ball. Hands of a wide receiver. We're going to give you some updates. Hands of a wide receiver. We're going to give you some updates on 5A play as we make our way through the
keeps his depth to hold number 23, that's Ralph Register. Make him stay flat. Don't let him try to go in. And then you just get the edge. Once you get the angle, then you accelerate to the stick and get out of bounds. That's a great run by Aaron McLaughlin.
On the other side of the 5A bracket, here's another update for you. Getting very late between Rome and Dutchtown right now. And the two-time defending state champions in Rome with a 21-7 lead late in that ball game, sitting on a 40-game winning streak, a 39-game winning streak. If they win tonight, it'll be their 40th win in a row, and they'll become the 7th team in state history, all classifications, to win 40 games in a row. Rome right now with a 14-point lead on Dutchtown in fourth quarter action. On the bottom side of the bracket, on that side of the bracket, in the bottom right quadrant of the bracket, Warner Robins right now leads Clark Central. Warner Robins leads Clark Central by the same score in fourth quarter action. So Warner Robins, who played Rome last year in the state championship game, is on pace to rematch with Rome. The last 3 years, there you see it. And remember, the last year, Rome beat Buford in the semis and Warner Robins in the championship. 2 years ago, Rome beat Buford in the state championship game.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If Rome and Warner Robins advance, Warner Robins hosts that game next Friday night.
That is correct. The bottom of the bracket will have home field if the seeds are even. Now, that will not be the case on this side of the bracket because the seeds are mismatched. Well, no, wait a minute.
If
I'm sorry.
Carrollton and Bainbridge would have the same ranking, Carrollton will host.
Stockbridge. A pass down here on the bottom side and incomplete. I misspoke. Stockbridge and Bainbridge both are number 2 seeds. Stockbridge would, in fact, have the home field coming up next week if Bainbridge were to hold on and win this football game. I knew what I was talking about. I just didn't articulate it correctly. 2nd and 10 play coming up, 33-yard line. 5 minutes and 28 seconds remaining. The glass slipper sitting at the foot of the bed. Bainbridge trying to plop their backside on the end of the bed and put that slipper on. But Darian Brown with second thoughts. There is a flag on the play. Now, wait a minute, no flag, but there's a man down on the play.
And Darian Brown was ridden out of bounds by Smoke Bowie, who's back in the game. So didn't want that to get lost in the shuffle. Glad that young man was able to get back into the game after that hit that kept him out for a good chunk of this second half. But a good run by Darian Brown. You could see this developing from the middle of the field.
Now a 200-yard night for Darian Brown by my count.
And you can see when they're winning the blocks up the middle, it just parts for Darian Brown. And you can see that play develop, and Darian Brown just got all he could and got out of bounds. And 5:19 left. Buford, you have to believe they're going to try to look in zone. They don't want to risk another field goal.
Brown checks out and Turner checks in. And the handoff promptly goes to the junior running back, weaving his way through traffic into the middle of the field, searching for the 15-yard line, and he has it. Second and short coming up.
Body control for their junior Elijah Turner. He slipped on the turf. This turf has taken a beating. 3 games, 3 weeks, all this rain that has come into the area. A light misting on the field tonight. Turner Plant, he slipped, but body control. You are aware of your body and the shifting of weight. He was able to compensate, keep his feet, and cut it back to the outside and maximize the gain.
Elijah out, Darian back in with a blocking back in front of McLaughlin and Brown. And Brown will follow him. Bouncing off tacklers. Brought down at the 14-yard line. Great job by a defender to come into the middle of the field, stay with him, and bring him down on the play. That ends up being number 26, Anthony Brooks, on the tackle. Boy, oh boy, has Anthony Brooks had himself some kind of ball game tonight.
And a great job. So many players, they get caught when Brown goes in the middle. Brooks comes through and was able to fight off and get to Darian Brown.
4-minute mark coming up. 3rd and 2, 13-yard line. McLaughlin with 2 wide receivers. Gives it to Brown. Darian over the 10-yard line. I believe for a first down.
It does look like from where the spot is, it will be a first down.
Indeed.
Smart run by Darian Brown. He saw the gap open wide enough, and he was actually in a decision-making time. Does he try to cut it back up for the big play, or does he take the hole that's in front of him that he knows will just pick him up 3, which is good enough for the first down? He took the 3-yard gain knowing that the first down was more important than a touchdown on that play.
Clock continuing to wind. We're down to 3:45 during this play. What a fantastic finish in the Elite 8, the 5A classification. Elijah Turner this time. The junior off left tackle or left guard if you prefer. One way or another, he's in the middle of the field, and he's got a positive gain, maybe a yard and a half at best. 3:30, 3:25, 3:20 during the play. Headed for a fantastic, dramatic finish in the 2018 GHSA 5A state quarterfinals. Someone headed to the semifinals next week.
If you're Bainbridge, you may have to burn a timeout here on defense. 1, to keep your guys fresh and give them a shot, and 2, to preserve clock. Because Buford's in no hurry to snap this ball here. The play clock right in front of McLaughlin. He knows when he can go.
7 yards to the lead. Darian Brown. No, McLaughlin kept it. I beg your pardon. Well, it was a great fake for the broadcasters, but the Bainbridge defense right on top of it. Great play there. Randy Fillingame to stay with it. Randy was joined by Bryce Worthy. Eric Sanders does a great job on the line of scrimmage defensively to push this one out.
That's a dual-faceted play call. You try to pick up as much yards, but you want to keep it on that left hash, that far hash, because think about the field goal attempt. It was pushed near side.
3rd and goal.
So that was a setup run. Now they can go straight up the middle or pass it, and they're on the right hash if they need to.
3 wide receivers, and they are throwing. The sophomore McLaughlin out of the back of the end zone, through the hands of his intended man, and now what will Buford do? 9 yards from the lead.
You have to take the tie.
Indeed you do.
And that's why they ran the keeper there for McLaughlin to that far hash, knowing that if they had to line up to kick it, it would be for a more natural angle for Hayden Olson.
Remember, Hayden Olson, who missed a game-tying field goal from 40 yards out at 10:37 of this quarter. The ball spotted at the 9-yard line. So a 26-yard field goal attempt. Can you see the wind and the rain on your television screen, on your tablet screen? This ball will be spotted at the 16 from the far hash. He'll have to pull it. 2:08 remaining for the tie in the state quarterfinals. It's blocked, and it's loose. The Bearcat broadcast crew celebrating off to our left. It's still a 3-point game with 2:01 remaining.
And that play was blown up from the snap, and we mentioned how chewed up the field is, and Buford has had some troubles on the wet surface all playoff long with the snap. And another fail snap attempt with that battery. Buford will have all 3 timeouts here with 2:01 left to go. And just think about the difference in this game. The facet of the safety, the fake punt, missed field goal, block field goal, missed extra point.
So many moments in this ball game. Dare I say this has been an all-timer, Brandon? Timeout, of course, will be called by Buford. It'll be their first. Or will they? Yes, indeed, they finally do. A little bit of time dragged off the clock there. Good 2 or 3 seconds. Instead of 1:55, it's 1:53 remaining in this ball game. Well, Brandon, this has been a great ball game. I'm not going to sit here and try to rank the thing as far as great ball games that I've seen, but this is an all-timer, especially if Bainbridge holds on to the win.
Just so many things in this game.
So many moments.
A lot of the action, just think about it, came within the first 6 minutes of the game, too. Bainbridge
was
was
16 to nothing,
6
minutes
in. 6 minutes into the game. And then Buford misses an extra point, and just think, those two are
16 to nothing, 6 minutes in.
6 minutes into the game. Before that snap, that could have influenced the long snapper to holder exchange. So they'll get back on this field. 13 yards. A first down ends the contest if you're Bainbridge. That has to be in the back of your mind. Or do you want to run the ball to force him to use timeout, or do you risk throwing here if you're Bainbridge?
Into this wind, into this blistering rain, I got to run it if I'm Bainbridge. Broadnex gets the carry. He stopped behind the line of scrimmage because Buford was loaded and ready to make the stop. 1:49. Buford uses their second timeout. They got one left, of course. It's going to be third and very, very long. And the ball right now is spotted. Let's see, where are they going to spot this thing officially? 9-yard line.
The thing that has been for Buford, they've been really close to blocking some punts. They haven't gotten home. They almost blocked that field goal attempt, but they roughed the kicker. It ended up short, but the pressure didn't really influence the kick. It was just a short kick, but they roughed the kicker there. They were almost home on that. They've almost been home on blocking multiple punts. We'll see if it's 4th and whatever inside your 10, inside your 15, knowing that you can't make a mistake. Or if you're the punter, knowing that if it's a bad snap or if there's pressure, don't risk the block. Take the safety, and then we'll free kick it deep and hope to stop them. You can't give up a special teams touchdown here if you're Bainbridge. So those things have to factor in here, knowing that Buford has been close. So Buford will take a timeout after this play. If you're the coaching staff of Bainbridge, you have to go over all the scenarios with the punter.
So many little moments, as we mentioned a moment ago. If you were to write a script for Cinderella to pull off an upset, this has pretty much been the script for Bainbridge. 1:49. Take the snap. Quaid going to keep it. He may be back to the line of scrimmage, and Buford now will use their final timeout of this ball game. 1:43 remaining. The ball spotted right back at the line of scrimmage, the 9-yard line. And now Bainbridge will have to punt this football away from right in the shadow of their own goalpost.
So the punter will probably line up about 1 yard, 2 yards deep in the end zone if it's a true drop back. You have to worry about, if you're Buford, the punter hasn't had a lot of yards in the air on of his punt. You're probably going to get this ball 50 moving in with no timeouts. Do you want to bring pressure if you're John Ford? Do you want to see if you can influence and get home? But if you don't, you risk running into the kicker, which is 5 yards, and they'll be forced to re-kick. It doesn't come with an automatic first down, but a roughing is an automatic first down, and there's your season. So a lot of factors on play if you're on both sidelines right now.
What a great ball game we've seen here in Buford.
Do you send Darian Brown back and just bail out, no pressure?
I would, but it doesn't look like they're going to. It looks like they're going to send Austin Turner back deep to receive, and Austin not shabby in and of himself. Austin averaging 15 yards per punt return, and he has scored once this year. Stockbridge now a final on Carrollton, 48-3. Stockbridge will either host Bainbridge or come up to Metro Atlanta and take on Buford. We still got some drama to unfold here. High snap. He'll get off the punt. It's not a great one. He gets a very friendly roll all the way up to the 39-yard line. One more scoring update before we get out of here tonight. Rome leads Dutchtown now late fourth quarter. That game's up to 21-14. 21-14. Meanwhile, Warner Robins has beaten Clark Central 21-14. So Warner Robins has advanced to the state semifinals. Now we've got an issue with the clock. Buford taking umbrage with how much time ran off the clock. I think they're saying that after that ball was touched down at the 39, the clock continued to run.
The clock never started upon the snap. So when the ball came dead, they finally were able to get the clock to roll. And it seems like the ECO was trying to accurately gauge how close it was. Nobody's going to be happy about the outcome.
39-yard line. Buford has never led, and it's never been tied. Well, it was 0-0. But Bainbridge has led throughout, and part of the reason why, big plays like that. Another tremendous defensive play by Anthony Brooks. The weak side linebacker comes in, gets pressure on McLaughlin, and forces him into a bad pass as Darian Brown was his intended receiver. Second down, 10 needed. 1:37 remaining in the ball game. Still at the 39-yard line.
With no timeouts, the threat of Darian Brown running it up the middle is limited. It's not gone.
Oh, yeah.
So you know you can go back to disguising that coverage, that showing 8, dropping some.
Sophomore bobbles the snap. Give off to Brown. Darian trying to come down here to the bottom side. Of course, if you get out of bounds, and they'll say that he did not. Now they will whistle him out of bounds, shy of the 30-yard line, and the clock will stop at 1:29. Official had a second chance to think about it. Said at first, let's keep the clock winding, but then he thought the wiser of it and blew the clock dead at 1:29. Third and short. Let's call it 3.
2 down territory here for Buford.
High drama in the 2018 GHSA 5A state quarterfinals. 3 teams have already punched their ticket to the state semifinals. Buford and Bainbridge looking to become the 4th. Little flare pass. Darian not looking, did not see it. McLaughlin was forced into a throw, and once again, Anthony Brooks was bearing down on the sophomore quarterback. It is 4th and 3. Bainbridge is a defensive stop from coming up with a major upset.
That was an all-or-nothing play call, and ideally what you want is Darian Brown to level out in that flat. When he came running by and that corner was coming on the blitz, he knew that there was nobody there. What he needed to do was turn and make himself big. Have a receiver hot route there. I'm not sure if it was a wheel option route where he has the option to break it off or go deep, or if it was just called deep, but he's got to break it off in that area.
Well, here we go. 4th and 3, 31-yard line. They're going to hand it off to Darian Brown. He's got the first down. Can you believe the nerve of that call? He's down inside the 25-yard line, and the clock continues to run. Well, it will run as soon as the ball is spotted and the chains are moved. Right now, sitting still at 1:16. Buford's going to have the football at about the 24-yard line or so.
Great mental play call there by Buford offensively. Bainbridge bailed out to protect the flat, assumed it was going to be a pass. Brown up the middle.
Fake the handoff. Sophomore looks. Now goes deep. One-on-one coverage. And incomplete. A lot of hand fighting going on down there in the end zone. Austin Turner, the intended man. But they will say no pass interference. Let's take a look at this run by Brown for the first down.
Yeah, they didn't bring any pressure. They were worried about the flat pass, or the pass to the flat. And that exposed the middle for Darian Brown, who makes a living through that A gap to get the first down.
Sorry, Brandon, 2nd and 10. 1:05 remaining. The Buford dynasty trying to keep another dynastic-type run moving. Warner Robins, Rome, and Stockbridge all into the state semifinals. Buford trying to do the same. McLaughlin, the sophomore sacked. The sophomore sacked. Shy of the 30-yard line. The clock going to continue to run. Now down to 55. It'll be down to 50 during this play. McLaughlin looking to the near sideline for a play call. Confusion on the offensive side. Exultation on the visitor sideline. McLaughlin barking out the signals, and the clock is down to 35 seconds. Sophomore claps and takes a snap and looks. And looks. Deep ball. Got a man down there. Batted away. It's batted away, and 4th down is coming up.
Too long for a field goal. What you wanted to do there was just take something short and out of bounds and try to line it up for the field goal. But now with it 4th and 18, their season comes down to this. They can get a first down at the 14-yard line, but you can't take a sack there if you're Aaron McLaughlin. Didn't feel the pressure coming. He bails out, but at that point, you immediately got to look to get rid of that ball. You throw it and you force the referee to make a determination if he's going to call intentional grounding in that scenario.
Bainbridge on the verge of one of the great upsets you've ever seen. History in the making in Buford City. It's a 4th and 18 from the 31-yard line. Bainbridge folks in the press boxes praying. And when I tell you praying, I mean literally off to our left, they're praying. You can see people holding hands and rocking back and forth over on the visitor stands in the sidelines. Of course, they may just be trying to keep warm, for goodness sakes. It is a frigid, chilly, rain-soaked night here in the city of Buford. What a night it's been. Let's take one last look at the very last play.
And if you're McLaughlin, you're just looking downfield, and you kind of locked in on Wilson over there. You had 3 guys to the near side. And what you're ideally looking for in that situation, and coaches have scramble plays called in. One guy's running a comeback route. One guy's going to go 10 yards, turn, and if you're in timing with that, that's an indefensible route. You cannot game plan against a perfectly timed comeback route. That's what McLaughlin should have been looking for there. But he eye-locked on Wilson, knowing that Wilson is the fastest guy out of the blocks, hoping that he could beat the man deep, knowing that Bainbridge does not have over-the-top help.
Keep in mind now, if Buford gets the first down but stays in bounds, they'll have to run to the line of scrimmage and clock this ball to save the ball game and the clock from running out. They'll come out with 4 wide receivers. Darian Brown will be off to the right of the sophomore quarterback, Aaron McLaughlin. McLaughlin, who completes 57% of his passes during the regular season, or during the 12-game slate, moving into this 13th game of the year for Buford. And here we go. The whole state is watching. 2 receivers to each side. McLaughlin will have a blitzing linebacker. The ball is fumbled. He picks it up. He will have to heave it up. It's incomplete. It's incomplete. It's incomplete. Buford falls. Bainbridge, the Cinderella, moves on. Can you believe this? It's an all-timer.
And Aaron McLaughlin, the play call was always the Hail Mary, but off of that fumble snap, a lot of players stopped moving. I'll be interesting to see the replay because it did look like he had one receiver that stayed near side, that stayed at home. I'm not sure if it would have been enough to pick up the first down, but play percentage is there. And McLaughlin, with the fumble coming to his right side, he was kind of shielded because the Hail Mary was to his left side. As Bainbridge gets ready for your kneel downs, we'll take a look. The bad snap took his eye off the ball. He's picking up, avoids the rush. He's always looking back. He did not look near side, and his arm actually got hit on the pass, and he had a receiver down there open and one more on the near side that he could have gone to.
Cinderella. Look at the absolute exultation on the visitor's sideline. A moment those young men will never forget. The Bainbridge Bearcats come up to North Metro Atlanta and leave with one of the great shocking victories of 2018. Absolute sheared, stunned silence on the home side. They've already shut off the scoreboard, and they're headed out of Tom Ryden. I cannot believe what we've seen tonight.
It was 6 minutes of action when you break it down. The safety, and then a free kick touchdown. Before you know it, Bainbridge was up 16-0. Their final score, the opening kick to the second half. It equates to about 6 minutes worth of action for Bainbridge in a 48-minute game. 6 minutes to glory for the Bainbridge Bearcats.
A ball game where they held defensively on the opening possession of the ball game. On the fourth play of the game, they blocked a Buford punt into the end zone for a 2-0 lead. They, of course, immediately got the football back and zoomed down the field, scored a touchdown to go up 9-0. Buford fumbled a snap on their next possession. Bainbridge recovered that said fumble and then scored very quickly on that next ensuing possession, McDowell's second touchdown of the ball game. And at 6:27, not even the halfway point of the first quarter, Bainbridge was already up 16-0. But then Uncle Mo squarely over the next two quarters shifted in favor of Buford, and they got all the way back to within 16-13 and 23-20. But Buford misses a couple of field goals in this fourth quarter, and they fall by the final of 23-20. Buford will finish their season at 10-3 on the year, and the number two team in America, number two team in the state of Georgia, has gone down tonight. Bainbridge will get the win. They will improve to 8-5 on the season, and they will win their fifth consecutive ball game. And here is what it means. Coming up next week, the Bainbridge Bearcats will travel down to Stockbridge to take on the Tigers of Stockbridge. Over on the other side of the bracket, it'll be Warner Robins hosting Rome. What an amazing ball game we watched unfold here in North Metro Atlanta tonight. It is truly an all-time victory, one of the best you've ever seen. Cinderella is wearing purple tonight. 23-20, that's your final. It's Bainbridge over Buford. Watch the next round of the state playoffs right here on the NFHS Network and the Facebook Watch tab as a part of the Road to State, brought to you by the NFHS Network. For our entire crew here in Buford, including my broadcast partner, Brandon Joseph, I'm Chris Mooneyham. Thanks for joining us, everybody. 23-20, Bainbridge over Buford on the NFHS Network and Facebook Watch.